For centuries they lay hidden beneath the earth, waiting, forgotten relics of a long-lost world. Ancient civilizations, whose mysteries defy our understanding, left behind traces of their existence, only to be swallowed by time. From cryptic inscriptions to monuments of unearthly precision, these archaeological anomalies raise questions that refuse to be answered. How could such advanced knowledge have existed thousands of years ago? What were they trying to tell us, if anything? Tonight, we delve deep into 3 hours of baffling, enigmatic discoveries, pulling back the veil on secrets that have remained buried for millennia. Ready to uncover the impossible? Let's begin. In the heart of the arid landscape of ancient Palestine, near the banks of the Euphrates, lies a site that defies simple explanation. Jerf el-Ahmar. A sprawling yet eerily quiet settlement that dates back to around 10,000 BC, Jerf el-Ahmar is a place where the past seems to linger, almost untouched, beneath the dust of millennia. The remains of this enigmatic site tell a story of a community far older than most of the world's great civilizations, and yet much about it remains a profound mystery. The most striking feature of Jerf el-Ahmar is its communal buildings, structures so large and complex that they suggest a level of organization and social cohesion far beyond what one might expect for a community of its time. These buildings, made of stone and mud brick, stand in stark contrast to the scattered, simple dwellings of neighboring settlements. What purpose did these massive structures serve? Why did a group of people, around 12,000 years ago, choose to build such intricate spaces in a place where survival itself was uncertain? Archaeologists have uncovered evidence that the site was home to a thriving, if enigmatic, community. The buildings are thought to have been part of a larger network of ceremonial or communal spaces, structures designed for gathering, ritual, or collective activity. In one of the most fascinating discoveries, a series of stone altars were found inside these buildings, suggesting the presence of early religious or spiritual practices. The altars, along with remnants of animal bones and tools, hint at rituals that might have been integral to the daily lives of the people who lived there. But what was the purpose of such large communal spaces? Jerf el-Ahmar predates the rise of agriculture, yet the people here seemed to have a level of architectural sophistication that would not be seen again for millennia. Some archaeologists suggest that these buildings were used for the storage of food or other communal resources, perhaps early evidence of an organized economy. Others believe that the structures were linked to early forms of social organization, offering a glimpse into the development of leadership or governance. Still, the ceremonial nature of the site cannot be overlooked, leading some to speculate that Jerf el-Ahmar might have been a place of spiritual or religious significance, where rituals were conducted to mark the passage of time, seasons, or important events. Then there are the truly baffling elements of the site. The most perplexing of these is the structure known as Building 3. Unlike the other communal buildings at Jerf el-Ahmar, Building 3 contains a series of large, deeply carved stone blocks, arranged in what appears to be a deliberate and intricate pattern. What do these carvings mean? Some have compared them to the symbols found in later ancient cultures, but no one has yet been able to decipher their meaning. Were they simply decorative? Or were they an early form of writing, a proto-language waiting to be unlocked? The possibility that the people of Jerf el-Ahmar possessed a form of written communication, some 12,000 years before the earliest known scripts, challenges our understanding of human development. As archaeologists continue to study the site, new questions continue to emerge. Was Jerf el-Ahmar a place of simple survival, or a thriving center of culture and ritual? The mystery deepens when we consider that Jerf el-Ahmar was abandoned abruptly. There are no clear signs of destruction, no violent conflict, no evidence of disease. Instead, the buildings were simply left behind, the people vanishing without a trace. What caused this sudden departure? Was it environmental? Perhaps the changing climate of the region, or a shift in the river's course that made the site untenable? Or was it something more enigmatic? A mass migration or societal collapse, the reasons for which remain unknown. Despite the advances in archaeology, Jerf el-Ahmar's secrets remain elusive. The stones, the altars, and the carvings continue to whisper their stories, but for now, they resist any clear interpretation. Is it possible that this site, so rich in history, holds a key to understanding the dawn of human civilization? Or are we merely scratching the surface of a mystery that has remained hidden for thousands of years? The answers may yet be buried beneath the sand, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. But for now, Jerf el-Ahmar stands as a testament to the complexity of human history, one that continues to provoke, challenge, and inspire all who seek to uncover its truths. As we leave the sun-bleached ruins of Jerf el-Ahmar behind, let us journey westward, across the Mediterranean to the island of Sardinia. There, nestled among the rolling hills and mist-shrouded landscapes, stands an ancient structure that has long baffled scholars and ignited the imaginations of all who visit. It's a place steeped in mystery, Nuraghe Losa. Rising out of the Sardinian earth like a silent sentinel, the Nuraghe Losa is part of a vast network of stone towers known as nuraghs, scattered across the island. These megalithic structures, built between 1900 and 730 BC, have long been a subject of fascination, both for their monumental scale and the questions they pose about the ancient civilization that constructed them. But Nuraghe Losa, larger, more intact, and more mysterious than most, holds particular intrigue. Standing more than 20 feet tall, its towering stone walls form a spiraling structure resembling a fortress or a watchtower. The outer stonework, made of local granite, is so tightly fitted that not even a knife blade could slip between the blocks. This remarkable craftsmanship raises an immediate question. How did people, so long ago, create something so precise without the tools or technology we now take for granted? To understand the Nuraghes, one must first understand the ancient Sardinians who built them. These people, whose origins remain shrouded in mystery, left behind no written records. All we know comes from the stones they left standing in the earth. It's believed they were built by the Nuraghic civilization, an enigmatic culture that flourished in Sardinia long before the island was touched by the civilizations of Rome, Greece, or Carthage. Most scholars agree that the Nuraghs were defensive in nature, perhaps serving as watchtowers or fortresses during a time of frequent intertribal conflict. But that explanation is far from sufficient to explain the true nature of these structures. Nuraghe Losa, in particular, stands out among the thousands of nuraghs found on Sardinia. It is not simply a tower, but a multi-chambered, multi-story structure with a maze of passageways and rooms. Its central core is dominated by a massive circular chamber, which, some believe, might have once served as a communal space or a place of ceremonial importance. The architecture of the Nuraghe suggests a highly organized society, capable of extraordinary feats of engineering. But this raises a further question. How could a people with no known written language, no large-scale empire, and no advanced machinery manage such feats of construction? Was this a civilization in isolation, or did they possess knowledge and skills that were lost or forgotten over time? Some theories suggest that these Nuraghs were not just military outposts, but spiritual or ritualistic centers. In fact, the inner chambers of Nuraghe Losa contain remnants of altars and odd stone structures, leading some to believe the Nuraghe might have been a place of sacred worship, where rituals were conducted under the open sky or by torchlight in the deep recesses of the tower. Was this structure built to align with celestial events? Some researchers point to the precise orientation of Nuraghe Losa and its surrounding walls, which may align with certain solar or lunar phenomena, hinting at an advanced understanding of astronomy. Could the builders of this Nuraghe have had a more complex spiritual system than we give them credit for? And then, there is the mystery of the Nuraghic people themselves. Despite extensive research, their origins are still unknown. Were they indigenous to the island, evolving independently of outside influence, or did they come from elsewhere, perhaps even from the lost civilizations of the Mediterranean or beyond? What drove them to create such monumental structures? And why, after several centuries, did the Nuraghes begin to fall into disuse, eventually being abandoned, their purposes fading into history's shadows? A particularly intriguing theory proposes that the Nuraghes were not just local creations, but part of a larger, forgotten network of ancient Mediterranean civilizations, connected by trade, culture, and shared knowledge. Could the Nuraghs have once been part of a greater, now lost civilization, whose legacy was erased by time and catastrophe? Some even speculate that the structures could have been inspired by, or in some way related to, other megalithic sites, such as those on the nearby island of Malta, or even the great stone circles of the British Isles. Could there be a distant connection between these disparate cultures, bound by ancient knowledge now lost to the world? Nuraghe Losa continues to be a testament to a civilization that understood stonework, geometry, and possibly even astronomy in ways we still don't fully comprehend. And yet, despite all we've uncovered, much remains unknown. Was it a military stronghold, a spiritual center, or something else entirely? What do the stones of Nuraghe Losa whisper to us, if only we could decipher their true meaning? As we look at the towering stones of Nuraghe Losa, we can only wonder, how many other ancient secrets lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered? Could there be more pieces to this puzzle, hidden in plain sight, ready to reveal themselves to those willing to search for them? The mystery of the Nuraghes endures, and with each passing year, we move a little closer to understanding the strange, intricate world of those who once inhabited this island. Or perhaps, the deeper we look, the more questions arise, leaving us to wonder if the answers are still waiting just beyond our reach. As we move from the stone towers of Nuraghe Losa to the dry, windswept landscapes of northern Mexico, we encounter a site that, like many ancient ruins, offers far more questions than answers. Nestled deep within the arid desert of Zacatecas, La Quemada stands as an enigma, an ancient city abandoned long before European colonization, its true purpose and origin still a matter of heated debate. At first glance, La Quemada appears to be a typical Mesoamerican ruin, a series of low, crumbling structures spread across the high plateau, their stone walls battered by centuries of wind and sun. But as you approach, something begins to feel different. The layout is unlike other known settlements in the region. The site's layout is not based on the typical Mesoamerican designs, with their pyramid-like temples or neatly arranged plazas. Instead, La Quemada presents a chaotic, almost accidental feel, like a city built without a grand plan, but one that grew organically, adapting to the environment, the people, and the changing needs of its inhabitants. Yet within this disarray, there is an undeniable sense of purpose, one that has not yet been fully understood. The most prominent feature of La Quemada is its massive fortress-like complex, known as El Castillo. This sprawling structure towers above the surrounding landscape, its stone walls built with great precision and seemingly designed for defense. From a distance, El Castillo resembles an imposing citadel, almost military in nature, overlooking the vast desert. Yet, despite its fortress-like appearance, there are no signs of significant warfare or destruction that would suggest it was ever involved in conflict. In fact, the lack of evidence for military action at La Quemada raises more questions than it answers. If it was a fortress, why was it not used for its typical purpose? If it was a city, why does it show no signs of large-scale social structures or domestic life? Despite its apparent defensive features, La Quemada has also revealed elements of ritual and cultural significance. Carvings, glyphs, and ceremonial platforms scattered across the site suggest that it was a place of deep spiritual importance for its inhabitants. The mysterious tomb of the warrior, for example, contains elaborate murals and intricate stone carvings that depict a figure clad in what appears to be ceremonial garb, holding an unknown object. Was this person a leader, a high priest, or perhaps a deity? And why were they interred with such reverence? The absence of more detailed records leaves us to wonder. Were these rituals associated with the cosmos, the earth, or something even more profound? But beyond the symbolism, there is something undeniably peculiar about La Quemada. Archaeologists have long debated the origins of the city's builders. Some believe it was constructed by the Caxcanes, an indigenous group known to have lived in the region. Others argue that La Quemada was built by an entirely different culture, one that left no trace elsewhere in Mesoamerica. The unusual construction style, with its precisely cut stonework and intricate masonry, does not fit neatly into any known Mesoamerican tradition. So, who were these people? Could La Quemada have been the work of a civilization whose knowledge of architecture, astronomy, and even metallurgy was far ahead of its time? Even more puzzling is the strange evidence of advanced technological skills found at the site. Numerous artifacts discovered at La Quemada, from finely crafted pottery to metallurgical tools, indicate that its builders had a sophisticated understanding of both craftsmanship and material science. Among these discoveries are tiny, intricate copper beads, suggesting that the people of La Quemada were skilled metalworkers long before the widespread use of metallurgy in Mesoamerica. How could such a small, isolated group of people possess such advanced knowledge? Were they influenced by far-reaching contacts with other ancient civilizations, or did they develop these skills independently? Further deepening the mystery is the fact that La Quemada appears to have been abandoned suddenly and without warning. Much like other ancient sites around the world, it seems as though the city was deserted almost overnight. The reason for its abandonment is still unknown. Was it a result of environmental collapse, perhaps a prolonged drought that made the area uninhabitable? Or was it something more dramatic, an invasion, or perhaps a religious or political upheaval that led to the site's desertion? Yet, no signs of conflict have been found at La Quemada, nor does the archaeological record suggest any major environmental crisis. The people of La Quemada simply vanished, leaving behind a site that has haunted historians and archaeologists for generations. Another theory points to the possibility that the city was abandoned due to internal societal changes. Perhaps the people of La Quemada underwent a cultural or spiritual shift, leading to the destruction or abandonment of their sacred city. The fact that so many of the site's structures are linked to rituals and ceremonies raises the possibility that the city's fall was not simply a matter of physical collapse, but a collapse of meaning, an abandonment of an entire worldview. Could the mysteries of La Quemada be tied to a religious or ideological transformation, one that led its people to leave behind their most important center of life? Adding to the sense of unease surrounding La Quemada is the location of the site itself. Situated on a remote plateau in the desert, the city seems almost deliberately hidden from the outside world. Was this isolation by design? Some scholars speculate that La Quemada may have been a secretive, even esoteric place, hidden away from the prying eyes of outsiders. But if that was the case, why has the site endured the passage of time? How could such a carefully concealed location have survived centuries of erosion, looting, and neglect? As we reflect on the mystery of La Quemada, it's clear that much remains unresolved. The city's origins, its purpose, and its sudden abandonment all stand as riddles, waiting to be solved. Was La Quemada the product of an unknown civilization with advanced knowledge, or was it simply a city that fell into ruin through more conventional means? What did its inhabitants truly believe, and why did they leave everything behind? Perhaps, like the ancient stones of La Quemada themselves, the answers remain buried in the sands of time, waiting to be discovered, or perhaps lost forever. Only time will tell whether we will ever uncover the true story behind this bizarre, haunting place. For now, the mystery endures, and the ruins of La Quemada continue to whisper secrets into the wind. As the sun sets over the northern British countryside, casting long shadows across the rolling hills, a solitary ruin stands, stoic and silent, Housesteads Fort. Located along the ancient Hadrian's Wall, a Roman frontier stretching across northern England, this fortress is one of the most well-preserved examples of Roman military architecture in Britain. Its weathered stones and empty halls have witnessed centuries of history, yet they seem to hold something more, something elusive beneath their surface. At first glance, Housesteads appears to be little more than a fortification designed to protect the Roman Empire's northernmost borders. Its design is typical of Roman military settlements, a rectangular shape with a central courtyard, barracks, and defensive walls. The thick, imposing stone walls, with their narrow windows and towering gates, suggest a fort built for conflict, one designed to withstand attack. And in truth, Housesteads was a military outpost, manned by Roman soldiers tasked with patrolling the edge of the empire, safeguarding the frontier from hostile tribes in the wilds of northern Britain. But there is more to this place than meets the eye. The most striking aspect of Housesteads is not its military strength, but rather its design and layout. Unlike many Roman forts, which were purely functional, Housesteads appears to have had a particular emphasis on living space and comfort. The barracks are equipped with heated rooms, and there are signs of advanced plumbing systems, evidence of a level of sophistication that would have been remarkable for a remote frontier fort. The presence of well-constructed latrines and drainage systems suggests that the Romans here were concerned not just with defense, but with the daily well-being of their soldiers. Why go to such lengths for comfort at the edge of the empire, in a place so far removed from the bustling life of Rome? What other, perhaps unspoken reasons might have influenced the design of Housesteads? And then there are the mystery of the artifacts. Excavations at Housesteads have uncovered a range of items that hint at the fort's deeper role. Among the many relics, there are strange personal items, coins, pottery, and statues, that point to cultural exchanges between the Roman Empire and the indigenous tribes of Britain. Some artifacts seem almost out of place, as though they belonged to someone who wasn't Roman at all. For example, the remains of animal bones found at the site suggest that ritualistic practices may have occurred here, possibly linked to the beliefs of local tribes. Were the soldiers stationed at Housesteads merely soldiers, or were they also diplomats, merchants, or even religious figures, engaging with the indigenous cultures in ways that have yet to be fully understood? Then, there is the mysterious presence of a mysterious temple. In the western corner of the fort lies a small structure that has puzzled archaeologists for centuries. At first glance, it appears to be another storage room or utility space, but closer inspection reveals something unexpected. The layout of the room is unlike that of any other building in the fort. It is aligned in a specific, almost ritualistic way, and the walls are adorned with faint markings, perhaps symbols or offerings, linking it to ancient beliefs, either Roman or native. Was this a temple to a Roman deity? Or was it a sacred space used by the indigenous tribes, serving as a place for negotiations, spiritual rituals, or even as a bridge between two very different worlds? The mystery of Housesteads only deepens when we consider its eventual abandonment. Like many Roman outposts, Housesteads was eventually abandoned in the early 5th century, as the Roman Empire retreated from its farthest reaches. However, the nature of its abandonment is unclear. Was it due to military defeat, economic collapse, or, more intriguingly, could there have been a more gradual shift in power, a political or cultural change that led to the fort's decline? Archaeological evidence suggests that the fort was not destroyed by external forces, as there are no signs of violent conflict or large-scale destruction. Instead, it seems that the inhabitants of Housesteads simply left, leaving behind the stone walls to be slowly reclaimed by the land. What could have caused the sudden departure of so many soldiers from this well-established military outpost? Some theorists suggest that the retreat from Housesteads may have been part of a broader strategic withdrawal from Britain, as the Roman Empire faced mounting pressures from barbarian invasions elsewhere. But others speculate that the abandonment of Housesteads might have had more to do with internal issues within the Roman Empire itself, a decline in the power and resources necessary to maintain a military presence in such a distant location. Or was the answer more personal? Could the soldiers who lived here, far from the comforts of Rome, have grown disillusioned with the empire, deciding to leave on their own accord, or perhaps even integrate into the local communities? The possibility that Housesteads was not abandoned out of necessity, but out of choice, suggests a deeper mystery at the heart of this ancient site. As we stand within the walls of Housesteads, we must ask ourselves, what more could this place reveal? The mysteries of Housesteads extend far beyond its stone structures and defensive walls. Were the Romans here merely occupying a military frontier, or were they engaging in something more, something that blurred the lines between empire, culture, and spirituality? What secrets were kept within these walls, and what stories did the soldiers of Housesteads take with them when they left? The questions surrounding Housesteads are as complex as the fort itself. Were the soldiers stationed here simply guardians of the empire's northern frontier, or did they play a more nuanced role in the cultural and spiritual exchange between the Romans and the native tribes? The faint markings on the walls, the mysterious temple, the sudden abandonment, each of these elements suggests that Housesteads may have been more than just a military outpost. It could have been a crossroads of cultures, a place where different worlds collided, intersected, and left their mark. The truth of Housesteads may never be fully uncovered, but perhaps that is the allure of the site. Like so many ancient places, it remains a canvas, one upon which we continue to project our questions, our theories, and our hopes for understanding. And as the wind whispers through its ancient walls, we are reminded that the answers to the mysteries of Housesteads may still lie buried, waiting for the next discovery to bring them to light. As we leave behind the cold, wind-swept fortresses of the northern frontier, we now journey south, to a place where time itself seems to slow, and the weight of ancient history settles heavily on the land. In the heart of the Ethiopian highlands, near the town of Tiya, a collection of megalithic monuments rises from the earth, silent sentinels of a civilization whose secrets remain locked in stone. The Tiya Megaliths are a series of more than 30 massive stone pillars scattered across an open, windswept plateau. Carved from the local sandstone, these stones stand tall and weathered, many of them bearing enigmatic markings, symbols and carvings that defy easy interpretation. Some of the stones are plain, while others are decorated with intricate geometric patterns and abstract motifs, seemingly conveying a language or message, but one that remains indecipherable. They rise up from the soil in an almost deliberate pattern, arranged in formations that suggest careful planning and significance. But why were they placed here, and what purpose did they serve? The Tiya Megaliths date back to around the 10th century BC, a time when the region was home to the Dimat kingdom, a precursor to the more famous Aksumite civilization. Little is known about the Dimt, as they left behind no written records, and the Tiya site offers few clues as to their purpose. What we do know is that the site was likely a place of ritual, a sacred space where people gathered to perform ceremonies, or perhaps to mark important events in their lives. The megaliths themselves are thought to have been erected by a group of people who had a sophisticated understanding of both their landscape and the symbolic power of stone. At first, the Tiya Megaliths appear similar to other megalithic sites found across the world, stone circles like those at Stonehenge or the Karnak stones in France. But a closer look reveals distinct differences. Unlike other sites, The Tiya Megaliths are not arranged in a symmetrical circle or a carefully planned pattern. Instead, they are spread out, some standing isolated, while others are grouped in irregular formations. The central megalith is especially striking, rising nearly 6 feet above the others, with elaborate carvings that resemble abstract human figures or faces. Could this be a depiction of a deity or an important figure in the Demet society? Or does it represent something far more complex, perhaps a forgotten myth, or a powerful symbol meant to connect the people to their gods or ancestors? One of the most intriguing aspects of the Tiya Megaliths is the apparent presence of human imagery on some of the stones. Scattered among the geometric symbols are carvings that suggest human forms, figures with oversized heads or strange stylized features. While many archaeologists believe these carvings represent gods, ancestors, or spirits, there is little consensus on their exact meaning. Could these figures be representations of actual people, perhaps powerful leaders or revered ancestors whose memory was immortalized in stone? Or do the carvings represent something more abstract, perhaps symbols of death, fertility, or the afterlife? Some of the stones at Tiya are marked with deeply incised grooves or lines, which some believe could have been used to track the passage of time, perhaps a primitive calendar system or a method of recording important celestial events. Was this site a place of astronomical significance, where the movements of the stars and planets were observed and recorded? If so, what did the builders of Tiya know about the cosmos, and how did they use this knowledge to guide their lives? Adding to the mystery is the strange concentration of graves found near the megaliths. Several of the stones are positioned above burial sites, with human remains discovered beneath the ground. The alignment of the stones with the graves suggests that the megaliths may have been part of a larger funerary or ceremonial complex, perhaps marking the resting places of important individuals or groups. But the sheer number of burial sites and the apparent deliberate placement of the stones above them raises more questions. Were the megaliths intended to protect the dead, or were they markers to ensure the spirits of the departed could continue their journey in the afterlife? What was the belief system of the people who built this site, and how did they conceive of life, death, and the cosmos? The mystery of the Tiya Megaliths deepens when we consider their connection to the surrounding landscape. The site is situated at a high altitude, overlooking the lush plains of the Rift Valley. Could the position of the megaliths have been chosen for its symbolic or spiritual significance? Was the site intended to connect the people of the Demti with the forces of nature, the sky, or the spirits that inhabited the land? The view from Tiya is breathtaking, a vast expanse of wilderness that stretches for miles in every direction. It's easy to imagine how the ancient builders might have seen this as a place where the earth met the heavens, a liminal space where the living could commune with the divine. Yet, despite decades of archaeological research, many aspects of the Tiya Megaliths remain tantalizingly out of reach. What knowledge did the builders of Tiya possess that we have lost to time? Were they part of a larger network of ancient megalithic sites, connected by shared knowledge or beliefs? And perhaps most intriguingly, why did the site fall into disuse? Unlike other megalithic monuments, the Tiya Megaliths show no evidence of large-scale destruction or natural disasters, leading some to wonder if the site was abandoned for cultural or spiritual reasons rather than due to external forces. Could there be more to the Tiya Megaliths than we can currently comprehend? Perhaps the true meaning of these stones, these silent sentinels, has yet to be uncovered. Are they merely markers of the past, or do they hold the key to understanding the beliefs and practices of a long-forgotten people whose knowledge of the earth, the stars, and the spirits remains locked away, waiting for someone to decode its secrets? As we stand before the Tiya Megaliths, we are left with more questions than answers. What do these stones mean, and what role did they play in the lives of the people who created them? Was Tiya a place of power, of worship, or of cosmic understanding? Or was it a simple burial site, a monument to the dead? The mystery of the Tiya Megaliths is far from solved, and perhaps it is the very nature of these stones that keeps us asking, keeps us searching for the answers that may lie just beyond our grasp. From the towering stone megaliths of Tiya, we now turn westward to the mist-covered hills of Ireland, where another set of ancient stones rises from the earth, Kerry stone forts. Located on the rugged peninsula of County Kerry, these enigmatic stone structures have long captivated archaeologists and historians, but still, their true purpose and origin remain elusive. Unlike the grand stone circles or megalithic tombs of other ancient cultures, the Kerry stone forts are smaller, yet no less mysterious. The stone forts, or dún as they are called in Irish, are scattered across the green hills and rocky slopes of this region. From a distance, they appear as if they belong to another time altogether, ancient remnants of a long-forgotten civilization. Their thick, circular walls, built from locally sourced stone, rise like sentinels against the landscape, the stonework so tight that it's difficult to imagine how they were constructed without advanced tools. The most striking of these forts, such as the Dún Big and Dún an Oir, stand with commanding views of the sea and the surrounding land, suggesting that they may have served a strategic or defensive purpose. But even as these structures stand proudly against the elements, they raise a question that still remains unanswered. Who built them, and why? The origins of the Kerry stone forts date back to the early centuries AD, though some scholars believe they could be much older, perhaps even as old as the 2nd century BC. These forts are thought to have been constructed during the Iron Age, a time of complex social and political development in Ireland. The walls of the forts range from 6 to 12 feet in height, and they are often surrounded by outer rings of defensive walls, creating an almost fortress-like appearance. The circular shape of the forts, combined with their placement on elevated ground, suggests that these structures were designed with defense in mind. But defense from whom? Was it simply an internal struggle between tribes, or did the builders of these forts face threats from distant invaders, perhaps from across the seas? One of the most curious aspects of the Kerry stone forts is their construction. The walls are made of dry stone, with no mortar to hold the stones in place. The fit of the stones is so precise that the structures have stood the test of time, surviving centuries of harsh weather and the occasional human interference. In some places, the stones appear to be almost deliberately shaped, as if each stone was selected for its particular size and fit. How did the builders of these forts, without the aid of modern tools or technology, achieve such precision in their construction? Was it purely the result of skilled craftsmanship, or did they possess knowledge or techniques that we have since lost? And more importantly, why would these early inhabitants put such effort into building defensive structures on isolated hilltops, far from the major centers of trade and political power? While many scholars agree that these stone forts were likely constructed as defensive strongholds, others propose a different theory. Some suggest that the Kerry stone forts may have had a more symbolic or ritualistic purpose. The circular walls, the elevated positions, and the presence of platforms and enclosures within some of the forts lead some archaeologists to propose that these structures may have served as centers for spiritual or religious gatherings. Was this site a sacred space for early Celtic tribes, where rituals were performed to honor their gods or mark celestial events? The precise placement of some forts along key vantage points raises the possibility that the builders of these forts had a deep understanding of the landscape and its connection to the stars. Could these forts have been built with astrological significance in mind, aligned with specific constellations or celestial events, as many ancient sites were? Another mystery surrounds the purpose of the dún as living spaces. The interiors of the forts, when excavated, often reveal evidence of habitation, hearths, tools, and pottery. but little evidence of large-scale agriculture or livestock. This raises the question, were these forts the homes of entire communities, or were they temporary refuges, used only in times of conflict or crisis? Some archaeologists speculate that these structures were built by a class of elites, or chieftains, who used the forts to assert control over their territories. Others suggest that they may have served as places of refuge for entire tribes, where people could retreat to safety when external threats loomed. But again, the absence of clear evidence for large-scale permanent settlements within the forts forces us to ask whether the Kerry stone forts were truly intended as residential structures, or if they held a more specialized function. One of the most striking and unexplained features of some of the Kerry stone forts is the presence of strange circular features found within the interior enclosures. These stone circles, often consisting of a ring of standing stones, are unlike anything else found in the region. Some suggest that these could have been used for ritual purposes, marking the center of a spiritual space. Others propose that they were constructed for astronomical observations, with the stones aligning to certain celestial events, such as the solstices or equinoxes. Yet, despite numerous excavations, no definitive explanation for these enigmatic stone circles has emerged. Why were they placed here, and what role did they play in the daily lives of the people who constructed the forts? Perhaps most perplexing of all is the question of why these stone forts were eventually abandoned. By the early Middle Ages, many of the Kerry stone forts had fallen into disuse, their walls crumbling and their enclosures overgrown with vegetation. Archaeologists have suggested that the abandonment of these sites may have been due to the rise of more centralized settlements and the consolidation of power into larger kingdoms, such as the kingdoms of Munster and Connaught. The increasingly organized and militarized nature of Irish society may have rendered these hill forts obsolete. But the true reason for their decline remains a mystery. Was it simply the march of time and changing political dynamics? Or was there something more dramatic that caused the inhabitants to leave? The Kerry stone forts are among the most enigmatic archaeological sites in Ireland, and the questions they pose about the past continue to fascinate those who visit them. Were they simply defensive structures, built to protect communities from invading forces, or were they places of spiritual or ritual significance, reflecting a deep connection to the landscape and the heavens? Could these ancient forts hold the key to understanding the social and political organization of early Celtic tribes, or were they part of a much larger, more mysterious tradition of megalithic construction? As we stand on the hilltops of County Kerry, gazing out across the misty valleys and distant shores, we are left to wonder, what secrets still lie hidden within these ancient stone walls? What knowledge did the builders of these forts possess that has since been lost to time? The answers, it seems, may be as elusive as the mist itself, waiting to be uncovered, perhaps, by those willing to look beyond the surface and listen to the stones. From the windswept hills of Kerry, we now travel east, across the rolling plains and jagged mountains of the Balkans, to a place where the past holds secrets buried deep within the rock. In southern Bulgaria, atop a craggy peak that overlooks the fertile lands of the Thracian Valley, lies the enigmatic Perperikon Fortress. As you stand before its ancient walls, it's easy to imagine the sounds of ritual chants and the echo of hooves on stone as once thriving people moved through these ruins. Yet, despite the grandeur of the site, the mysteries of Perperikon remain largely unsolved. The fortress itself is perched atop a striking hill, with sheer cliffs guarding its approaches, making it an ideal location for defense. From this high vantage point, the builders of Perperikon could monitor the surrounding plains and control access to the valley below. The stone structures that remain on the hilltop suggest a place of great importance, a fortified settlement perhaps, or even a sanctuary where ritual and power intersected. Dating back to around the 5th century BC, Perperikon was likely part of the Thracian kingdom, a civilization known for its warrior culture and rich religious traditions. The most striking feature of the site is its vast megalithic construction, with towering walls and massive stone blocks, some of which seem to have been intentionally carved from the natural rock formations that rise out of the landscape. But what was the purpose of this formidable fortress? Was it merely a stronghold for the Thracian kings and their warriors, or was it something far more profound? The layout of Perperikon raises more questions than it answers. The site consists of several large stone buildings and terraces, along with an intricate network of tunnels and passageways that weave through the rocky hill. There are defensive walls and gates, but there is also evidence of what seems to be ritualistic spaces, open-air altars, niches carved into the stone, and small sanctuaries. Archaeologists have uncovered statues, pottery, and inscriptions that suggest the site was not just a military stronghold, but a center of religious and spiritual activity. Was Perperikon a temple city, dedicated to the gods of the Thracians, where rulers and priests performed sacred rites to ensure the prosperity and protection of their people? Among the most intriguing discoveries at Perperikon is a massive rock-hewn sanctuary, where scholars believe the Thracians may have worshipped their deities. The site contains an array of carved stone platforms, altars, and channels, some of which align with celestial events, such as the solstices and equinoxes. Was this site designed to mirror the movements of the stars, connecting the terrestrial with the divine? The precise engineering of these spaces, where stones appear to have been shaped and arranged for symbolic purposes, suggests that the builders of Perperikon had an intimate understanding of astronomy and cosmology, perhaps even more advanced than we have previously credited ancient civilizations with. Could the site have served as an observatory or a ceremonial center dedicated to tracking the movements of celestial bodies, marking time in ways that only a select few understood? But it's not only the stonework and the layout of the site that raises questions. The very presence of Perperikon in this remote part of the world begs further exploration. How did such a site come to be built in this isolated mountain range? Was it a place of power, where the kings and high priests of the Thracian kingdom could project their influence over a vast region? Or was it part of a larger network of sacred sites, connected by ritual and shared religious practices? The absence of written records makes it difficult to know with certainty, but some suggest that Perperikon may have played a role in an even grander scheme, perhaps as a key part of an ancient pilgrimage route where people traveled from distant lands to visit the sacred space. Perhaps the most mysterious aspect of Perperikon lies in its abrupt decline. Sometime around the 4th century AD, the fortress was abandoned and fell into ruin. Archaeologists have found no evidence of a large-scale conflict or invasion that would explain its desertion. Was it the rise of new political powers, such as the Romans, that led to its fall? Or did the people of Perperikon simply abandon their sacred city, leaving behind their altars and rituals for reasons that remain unclear? Some speculate that internal social or religious shifts may have played a role in the site's sudden decline, while others suggest that it was the slow erosion of power as the Thracian kingdom itself weakened. The abandonment of Perperikon is particularly perplexing because, unlike other ancient sites, it does not show signs of violent destruction or warfare. The structures were left intact, with no major evidence of fires or invasions. The people who once inhabited this sacred space seem to have left willingly, as if in response to forces we can only guess at. Could it have been a religious or cultural transformation that led to the abandonment of the site? Did the people of Perperikon turn their backs on their gods, abandoning the very stones they had so carefully constructed? Or was there a more gradual shift, an evolution in belief systems that made the rituals of Perperikon irrelevant to future generations? In addition to its mysterious abandonment, Perperikon has also yielded a number of artifacts that challenge our understanding of the ancient world. From inscriptions in unknown languages to artifacts that seem out of place, there are many oddities that defy easy classification. Some researchers have speculated that the site might have been visited by traders or travelers from distant lands, perhaps even from the far reaches of the Mediterranean or beyond. Did Perperikon serve as a cultural crossroads, a place where different peoples converged, exchanging not only goods but ideas, philosophies, and beliefs? There is also the question of the role Perperikon played in the broader context of Thracian culture. Was it a unique site, or was it one of many similar sacred centers scattered throughout the Thracian heartlands? Were these fortresses and temples interconnected, forming a vast spiritual network, with each site serving a specific function in the religious and political life of the region? Or was Perperikon a singular entity, standing apart from all others in its mystery and importance? As we ponder these questions, we are left with more than just a sense of awe at the skill and ingenuity of the people who built Perperikon. We are left wondering what knowledge and rituals they possessed, and what secrets they took with them when they abandoned this sacred place. Was Perperikon a forgotten beacon of ancient wisdom, a site where the line between the sacred and the earthly was blurred? Or was it simply a military stronghold, serving the needs of an ancient kingdom in a world we can barely comprehend? The answers, it seems, may lie hidden beneath the rubble, waiting to be uncovered by future generations. But for now, Perperikon stands as a reminder of the mysteries that continue to lie at the heart of human history. Untold stories from a distant past, locked in stone, awaiting their moment to be revealed. As we leave behind the rugged fortress of Perperikon, we now turn our attention westward to the volcanic landscapes of the Canary Islands. Here, in the heart of Gran Canaria, a curious archaeological site awaits, a place carved into the very rock of the island, a place where the line between natural and human-made blurs into something more mysterious. These are the Valerón Caves, a labyrinth of caves and artificial chambers that have puzzled archaeologists and historians for centuries. The Valerón Caves are located high in the hills of northern Gran Canaria, where jagged cliffs and arid landscapes stretch as far as the eye can see. To the casual observer, the site might appear to be little more than a cluster of rock formations, but a closer look reveals something far more intricate. The caves themselves are carved into the soft volcanic rock, and inside, a network of chambers and passageways unfolds. Many of these chambers were once used for storage, their walls lined with shelves and niches that seem to have been precisely shaped. But it is the structure of the caves, along with the mystery of their creators, that truly sets Valerón apart. Dating back to the 1st century BC, the Valerón Caves were likely created by the ancient indigenous people of the Canary Islands, the Guanche. The Guanche are thought to have arrived in the Canary Islands around the 1st millennium BC, though much of their culture remains shrouded in mystery. Archaeologists believe that the caves served as communal storage spaces, where grain and other foodstuffs were kept to ensure the survival of the community through harsh times. The ingenious design of the caves, with their carefully carved niches and shelves, suggests a people with a deep understanding of their environment and an ability to adapt to the challenges it presented. Yet, as we examine the Valerón Caves, we find ourselves asking, what else might these caves have been used for? The purpose of these structures is still debated, with some scholars suggesting that they may have had ritualistic significance in addition to their practical use. Could the Guanche have used the caves as a sacred space, a place to connect with their gods, or to perform ceremonies tied to the natural world around them? The careful, almost deliberate way in which the chambers are arranged, with niches and shelves arranged in patterns, invites speculation about a deeper, symbolic meaning. The most striking feature of the Valerón Caves is the unique design of the niches themselves. Unlike simple storage spaces, the niches appear to have been meticulously carved, with precise measurements and consistent shapes. Some are large enough to store entire sacks of grain, while others are small and narrow, perhaps used for more delicate items. The niches are arranged in such a way that it seems as though they were meant to be accessed easily, with shelves and passageways designed to allow for efficient movement and organization. Yet the very precision of these structures raises a question. How did the Guanche, without the use of metal tools, achieve such fine, consistent craftsmanship? Were they simply working with exceptional skill and knowledge of the materials, or did they possess methods and techniques that we have since lost? Adding to the mystery of the Valerón Caves is their location. The caves are situated on a steep hillside, far removed from any obvious sources of water or fertile land. Why would the Guanche choose such a difficult location to build their storage chambers? Some have speculated that the location was chosen for its defensive advantages, an easily defensible position from which the Guanche could observe the surrounding land. Others have suggested that the caves were placed in this location to align with natural features of the landscape, perhaps to take advantage of the unique geological properties of the volcanic rock. The fact that the site is so isolated from other major settlements raises the question: was it purely functional, or was there a deeper, more spiritual significance to its location? There is also the question of the relationship between the Guanche and the rest of the ancient world. The Canary Islands, lying off the northwestern coast of Africa, were cut off from most major trade routes, yet the Guanche appear to have developed a complex society, with advanced knowledge of agriculture, astronomy, and craftsmanship. How did these isolated people develop such sophisticated techniques? Did they have contact with other ancient civilizations, perhaps across the Mediterranean or North Africa? Or did they develop these skills independently, drawing from their intimate knowledge of the island's landscape and natural resources? The Valerón Caves, with their precise construction and unique design, offer tantalizing clues that the Guanche may have been part of a larger, more interconnected world than we previously thought. The significance of the Valerón Caves grows even more mysterious when we consider the social and cultural context of their creation. If these caves were used for storage, as many believe, what does that tell us about the structure of Guanche society? Was it a society built on communal living, where resources were shared and carefully rationed? Or was it a hierarchical society, where wealth and resources were stored and controlled by elites? The organization of the caves suggests a level of social organization that goes beyond mere survival. Could the caves have played a role in the social or religious life of the Guanche? Did they serve as a gathering place for ceremonies, rituals, or feasts, where the people would come together to celebrate or give thanks for the harvest? But perhaps the most enduring mystery of the Valerón Caves is the question of their eventual abandonment. By the 15th century, the Guanche society had begun to unravel, in part due to the arrival of Spanish colonizers. The Valerón Caves were eventually abandoned, and the knowledge of their construction and use faded into the mists of history. The very fact that these caves remain largely unexplored and misunderstood speaks to the loss of ancient knowledge and culture that occurred with the arrival of new forces. Why were the caves left behind? Did the Guanche abandon their sacred spaces, or did external forces, such as war, famine, or disease, drive them from their homes? The lack of written records means that we may never know the full story. The Valerón Caves, with their mysterious design and hidden history, remain one of the most intriguing archaeological sites in the Canary Islands. Were they merely functional storage spaces, or did they serve a deeper, more symbolic role in the lives of the Guanche people? What knowledge and rituals were hidden within these stone walls, and what has been lost to time? As we stand before these ancient caves, we are left with more questions than answers, wondering what secrets still remain hidden in the volcanic rock, waiting to be uncovered. Could the Valerón Caves hold the key to understanding a lost civilization? Or will their mysteries continue to elude us, buried beneath the layers of history? Leaving behind the enigmatic caves of Gran Canaria, we now find ourselves on the rugged island of Corsica, in the Mediterranean Sea. Here, nestled in the dense forests and mountainous terrain of the island's southern interior, stands a site that appears to rise from the land as though it were part of the earth itself, the Castellu di Cucuruzzu. This ancient stone fortress, perched high above the surrounding valleys, is a testament to the mysterious past of Corsica, its purpose and origins remaining subjects of debate among archaeologists and historians. The Castellu di Cucuruzzu sits on a massive granite outcrop, offering a panoramic view of the valley below and the dense Mediterranean forests that cover much of the island. The site is accessible only through a narrow, winding trail that cuts through the dense scrubland, leading visitors to a series of weathered stone walls and structures that seem almost otherworldly in their simplicity and grandeur. The fortress appears as a jagged silhouette against the sky, its ancient walls still standing strong after thousands of years. Yet, despite its imposing presence, the true purpose of the Castellu di Cucuruzzu remains unclear. The fort is believed to have been built around the 3rd century BC, during the time of the Toscan civilization, an ancient people who inhabited the island long before the arrival of the Romans. The Toscan are thought to have been an enigmatic and isolated group, leaving behind few written records and little evidence of their culture. What remains of their civilization is scattered across the rugged hills and cliffs of Corsica, stone structures, walls, and burial sites that seem to tell a story, but one that is incomplete and fragmented. The Castellu di Cucuruzzu, with its well-fortified walls and strategic location, appears to have been one of their most significant and imposing structures. The design of the fortress is unlike anything else found on the island. Its stone walls are constructed with massive blocks of granite, carefully shaped and fitted together with impressive precision. Some sections of the wall are as much as 10 feet thick, and the use of corbel arches, curved stone structures designed to bear weight, suggests a level of architectural sophistication that is rare for the time. The entrance to the fortress is narrow and well defended, a clear indication that it was built with the intent to protect its inhabitants from outside threats. Yet, as impressive as the architecture is, it is the Castellu di Cucuruzzu's setting that truly sets it apart. The fortress sits on a high plateau, offering a commanding view of the surrounding land, a vantage point that would have allowed its inhabitants to observe and defend against potential invaders from miles away. What is most striking about the Castellu di Cucuruzzu is its scale and complexity. The site is not a single building but a sprawling complex of interconnected structures, including large terraces, chambers, and what appear to be defensive walls or towers. Some of the chambers are simple and utilitarian, while others are more elaborate, with intricate carvings and decorated surfaces. There are also remnants of stairways and passageways, suggesting that the fortress was designed to be both functional and symbolic. What might these spaces have been used for? Were they purely defensive, designed to protect the people living there from attack, or did they serve other, more spiritual or social purposes? In addition to its architectural complexity, the site also features a number of curious elements that hint at the deeper mysteries of the Castellu di Cucuruzzu. One of the most intriguing aspects of the fortress is the presence of a large stone circle at the center of the site. This circle, carved into the rock, is thought to have been used for ceremonial purposes, possibly marking the center of the fortress's spiritual or social life. The stones that make up the circle are aligned with specific points in the landscape, suggesting that the people who built the fortress had a keen understanding of the natural world and the movement of the sun and stars. Was this stone circle part of a larger ritual complex, perhaps linked to seasonal celebrations or religious ceremonies? Was it a place where the Toscan gathered to honor their gods, or was it used for more practical purposes, such as marking important dates or events? The mystery deepens when we consider the eventual abandonment of the Castellu di Cucuruzzu. The fortress appears to have been in use for several centuries, but by the 2nd century BC, it seems to have been abandoned. Was the site gradually deserted over time, or did its fall coincide with a specific event, such as an invasion or a shift in power? The absence of clear evidence of destruction or warfare suggests that the Toscan may have simply moved on from the site, perhaps due to changes in the political or social structure of the island. Yet there are no written records to explain why the Castellu di Cucuruzzu was abandoned, leaving us to speculate about the reasons behind its sudden decline. One of the most intriguing possibilities is that the fortress may have been abandoned due to a shift in religious or cultural beliefs. The Toscan were likely influenced by the complex belief systems of the ancient Mediterranean world, and the alignment of the stone circle and other ritual features at Cucuruzzu suggests that the site may have been more than just a military stronghold. It may have been a place of spiritual or cosmic significance. Did the Toscan leave the fortress behind as part of a larger cultural or religious shift, moving to new sites in search of new spiritual connections? Or did the political landscape of the island change, leading to the abandonment of sites like Cucuruzzu in favor of more centralized or defensible locations? Adding to the mystery of the Castellu di Cucuruzzu is the question of its relationship to other ancient sites on Corsica and the Mediterranean. The Toscan were not isolated from the broader world. Archaeological evidence suggests that they had contact with other Mediterranean cultures, including the Phoenicians and the Greeks. Could the Castellu di Cucuruzzu have been part of a larger network of fortified sites, perhaps acting as a center of trade, defense, or religious significance? The lack of definitive answers leaves open the possibility that the fortress may have served multiple roles, and its true purpose could be far more complex than we can imagine. As we stand at the base of the Castellu di Cucuruzzu, gazing up at its towering stone walls, we are reminded of the mysteries that still lie buried in the past. Was this site merely a military outpost, a place of defense against invaders, or was it something more, a sacred center, a place where the people of Corsica gathered to honor the gods and mark the passage of time? The answers, like so much of the island's history, remain shrouded in mystery, waiting to be uncovered by those who are willing to look beyond the surface and ask the questions that have yet to be answered. Nestled within the rugged hills of the Golan Heights, not far from the mighty Jordan River, lies an enigmatic archaeological site that has left both scholars and explorers puzzled for centuries: the massive stone ramparts of Tel Dan. The site, known for its towering walls and intricate construction, holds secrets that date back to the days of the ancient kingdoms. Here, amidst the whispering winds and rolling landscapes of what we now call Palestine, the past reveals itself in fragments, stone by stone, layer by layer. But the questions surrounding Tel Dan go deeper than just its physical remnants. It is a place where history and mystery collide in ways that challenge everything we think we know about the ancient world. The massive stone ramparts at Tel Dan are striking, both in their scale and their craftsmanship. The walls stretch across the site in impressive arcs, towering over visitors and dwarfing the surrounding landscape. Some sections of the ramparts reach heights of 12 feet, built with enormous, perfectly hewn stones that seem too large for any ancient civilization to handle with ease. How were these massive stones quarried and transported? Was there some kind of lost technology that allowed for such precision? Or were these structures built by a civilization far more advanced than the one we generally imagine for this time period? Tel Dan was once a key city in the ancient kingdom of Dan, a site mentioned in biblical texts and referenced by ancient writers as one of the most important cities in the region. It was strategically located at the entrance to the fertile Jordan Valley, and its proximity to water sources and trade routes made it an ideal location for settlement. In its prime, the city was a thriving hub of culture and commerce. Yet, despite its significance, the true story of Tel Dan is still shrouded in mystery. Archaeological digs at Tel Dan have uncovered a wealth of artifacts, pottery, inscriptions, and tools that offer a glimpse into the daily lives of its ancient inhabitants. Among these, the famous Dan Stele, an inscribed stone fragment, stands out as one of the most significant finds. This stele, discovered in 1993, bears an inscription that many scholars believe refers to the House of David, a biblical dynasty that has long been a subject of intense debate. The discovery of the stele has helped to validate certain historical accounts from the Bible, but it also raises new questions. How accurate are the biblical texts, and to what extent can they be used as historical documents? Can archaeology truly prove the existence of legendary figures? Or are we simply seeing echoes of myth and legend embedded in the physical remnants of the past? Despite the impressive archaeological discoveries, the massive stone ramparts themselves remain one of the most puzzling aspects of Tel Dan. They are not just defensive structures. They seem to possess a level of engineering sophistication that challenges our understanding of ancient construction. The sheer size of the stones, some weighing several tons, suggests that the people who built them possessed knowledge of advanced techniques that should have been beyond their capabilities. The precision with which these stones fit together, without mortar or cement, speaks to a level of skill that is extraordinary for its time. But there is something else that adds to the mystery of these ramparts: their location. Tel Dan was never a large city in the sense that other ancient cities were. It didn't have the vast urban sprawl or the monumental architecture that we associate with great empires. So why then would its builders invest so much effort into constructing such enormous, elaborate fortifications? Was Tel Dan more important than we realize? Or could these walls have been built for reasons other than defense, perhaps for ceremonial purposes, or to convey some deeper symbolic meaning? It's a question that lingers in the air, unanswered. Some have speculated that the ramparts at Tel Dan may be connected to the city's role as a religious center. The site was long known to have been a place of worship, with temples dedicated to ancient deities and shrines meant to honor the gods of the region. Could these massive walls have been built to protect something sacred, something far beyond the practical needs of warfare? Was there a deeper spiritual or symbolic purpose behind the grandiosity of the ramparts? Theories abound, but definitive answers are elusive. Some scholars have pointed to the possibility of a lost civilization, one that predates the known kingdoms of the region. Perhaps there was a culture in the distant past, long forgotten by history, that possessed knowledge and technology lost to time. Others argue that the builders of Tel Dan were simply incredibly skilled, able to create impressive structures with the tools and materials at their disposal. And then there are those who suggest that the ramparts were constructed in phases over generations by different cultures, each adding to the walls as they sought to claim the site as their own. But even these explanations only raise more questions. If Tel Dan's builders were indeed following a long tradition of stone construction, then why does the site differ so greatly from other known examples of ancient fortifications? Why does it appear to be so uniquely designed? Could there be something hidden within the stones themselves, something yet to be discovered, that might offer a clue to their true purpose? Even more perplexing is the fact that much of the site remains unexplored. Large sections of the ramparts are buried beneath layers of earth, and much of the city's layout remains a mystery. What lies beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? Could there be hidden chambers, secret tunnels, or forgotten artifacts that might shed light on the true nature of this ancient place? And what about the possibility of new discoveries, ones that challenge our current understanding of history and culture? The massive stone ramparts of Tel Dan, with their towering presence and intricate design, continue to stand as a testament to the ingenuity of ancient builders. But they also stand as a reminder of how much we have yet to understand about the past. The mysteries surrounding the site persist, and though we have uncovered many clues, the full story of Tel Dan remains an elusive one. What was its true purpose? Who were its builders, and what motivated them to create such monumental structures? The answers may never come, at least not in our lifetime, but that is part of what makes Tel Dan so compelling. It is a site that invites exploration, that beckons us to dig deeper, to ask questions, and to wonder what ancient secrets still lie buried beneath the earth. Leaving behind the fortified ramparts of Tel Dan, we now journey south to the heart of India, where the past is not only written in ancient texts, but in the very stones of the land itself. Here, in the verdant hills of Rajgir in Bihar, stands a remarkable and enigmatic structure, Rajgir's Cyclopean walls. These ancient walls, stretching across a wide expanse of land, seem to rise from the earth as if they were grown from the soil itself. Made of massive stone blocks, their imposing presence dominates the landscape, leaving visitors to wonder about the civilization that constructed them and the mysteries they have kept hidden for centuries. The Cyclopean walls of Rajgir are an ancient fortification system, believed to have been constructed during the 6th to 4th centuries BC, a time when powerful kingdoms such as the Magadha flourished in this region. These walls, named after the mythological Cyclopes, giant beings in Greek mythology known for their strength and skill in stoneworking, are composed of enormous, rough-hewn stones, some weighing several tons. The stones are stacked with incredible precision, forming walls that are not only formidable in their size but also in their complexity. Stretching for miles, these walls encircle an area that was once a thriving city, offering protection and marking the boundaries of a civilization that has long since disappeared. But despite the impressive size and craftsmanship of the Cyclopean walls, much remains unknown about the people who built them. How did they manage to quarry, transport, and stack these massive stones with such precision, given the limited tools and technology available at the time? The sheer scale of the construction suggests an organized, highly skilled workforce, yet no records exist that explain the exact methods used in their creation. The Rajgir Cyclopean walls were likely constructed by the rulers of the Magadha kingdom, one of the most powerful ancient states in India, but the absence of written records leaves much to the imagination. Some scholars believe the walls were part of a fortified city, perhaps to protect against invaders or rival kingdoms. Rajgir was strategically located near the Ganges River, an essential trade route in ancient India, and its location in a valley surrounded by hills would have made it an ideal place for a stronghold. The kingdom of Magadha, a powerful state that would eventually give rise to the Maurya Empire, was a target for conquest by neighboring kingdoms, and these walls may have been built to defend its wealth and power. But while this explanation fits with the idea of a military fortification, it leaves us wondering, could these walls have had another purpose, one that goes beyond mere defense? The term Cyclopean itself hints at a deeper mystery. The stones used to construct the walls are not the finely cut blocks typical of later stonework, but large, irregularly shaped blocks that fit together with little or no mortar. The craftsmanship is rough, yet somehow precise in its design. This raises the question, could the builders of the Rajgir Cyclopean walls have had access to lost or unknown methods of construction, techniques that modern archaeologists have yet to uncover? Some researchers have suggested that these walls could have been built using ancient techniques that have been lost over time, techniques that allowed the builders to work with immense stones that would be almost impossible to move by modern standards. As we move deeper into the mysteries of the Cyclopean walls, we are drawn to another, more speculative possibility. Could these walls have served a purpose that transcended mere defense or city fortification? Could they have been built for religious or spiritual reasons? Rajgir was not just a political center. It was also a place of profound religious significance. The area is known for its association with the life of Gautama Buddha, who is said to have spent time meditating in the nearby hills and teaching his followers. The walls, with their imposing presence and intricate construction, could have held symbolic meaning, serving as a physical manifestation of the spiritual and religious power of the time. Could the Cyclopean walls have been designed to protect not just a city, but the sacred space that surrounded it, marking the boundaries of a place imbued with spiritual energy? Furthermore, the location of the Cyclopean walls invites further speculation. Rajgir lies nestled in a valley surrounded by a ring of hills, which themselves were historically dotted with Buddhist monasteries and places of worship. The presence of ancient religious sites in the area raises the question: did the walls serve a dual purpose as both a military and a spiritual boundary? Were these walls a physical barrier against invaders, or were they a boundary between the mundane world and the sacred realm? The connection between religion, power, and architecture in the ancient world is a long-established theme, and Rajgir offers a unique glimpse into how these forces may have intertwined. But beyond the walls themselves, there are further mysteries that complicate our understanding of Rajgir's ancient fortifications. Archaeologists have uncovered multiple layers of construction, suggesting that the walls were built and rebuilt over centuries, with different rulers adding their own sections and modifications. This raises the question: was the site in a constant state of evolution, adapting to new political realities, or was it abandoned and rediscovered several times over the centuries? The shifts in architecture and design might reflect the changes in the cultural, political, and religious landscape of the region. Moreover, the walls seem to contain echoes of a more ancient world. Evidence from surrounding excavation sites suggests that there were earlier settlements at Rajgir, some dating back thousands of years before the Magadha kingdom even came to prominence. Could the Cyclopean walls have been built atop even older fortifications, left by an earlier, unknown civilization? There are theories that ancient cultures possessed far more advanced building techniques than previously assumed, and the walls of Rajgir could provide more clues about a lost civilization's ability to move and work with large stones. The lack of definitive answers leaves the Rajgir Cyclopean walls shrouded in mystery. Were they simply a defensive measure built to protect a city? Or did they serve a much deeper, more symbolic role in the spiritual and political life of ancient Magadha? Did they represent a technological breakthrough, a product of lost construction methods? Or did they incorporate ancient knowledge that we are only now beginning to understand? As we stand before the walls of Rajgir, we are left with more questions than answers. Who were the people who built these monumental defenses? What did they truly mean, not only to the kingdom of Magadha, but to the cultures that followed? And what, if any, secrets do these stones still hold, waiting to be uncovered by future generations? The mysteries of the Rajgir Cyclopean walls are far from resolved. And as we explore the ancient world, we are reminded that the answers to history's greatest questions often remain just out of reach, hidden within the stones of forgotten places, waiting for someone to uncover their secrets. Having left behind the imposing Rajgir Cyclopean walls, we now journey westward across the Mediterranean to the sun-drenched island of Cyprus. Here, nestled in the heart of the island, lies an ancient settlement whose stone structures continue to puzzle and intrigue archaeologists: Khirokitia. This Neolithic site, dating back to around 7,000 BC, offers a rare glimpse into a time when human society was beginning to shift from simple nomadic living to more settled community-based existence. Yet, even today, the purpose and meaning of the Khirokitia structures remain an enigma, casting a shadow of mystery over this otherwise tranquil landscape. The site of Khirokitia sits on a gentle slope overlooking a valley, the fertile land stretching out beneath a sky that has witnessed millennia of human history. The settlement, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is made up of a series of circular stone dwellings, some still standing in varying states of preservation, their thick stone walls rising up from the earth like silent sentinels. These homes, each with a roof of timber and reeds, were once tightly clustered together, forming a small, fortified community. The structures are not large. Each dwelling is only a few meters in diameter, but the precision with which they were constructed raises questions that have yet to be fully answered. The inhabitants of Khirokitia were part of a broader shift in human civilization during the Neolithic period, when agriculture began to take root in the Fertile Crescent and communities began to settle. The buildings at Khirokitia were constructed using local limestone, and their thick, round walls suggest a design focused on defense and stability, perhaps even sheltering the community from wild animals or other threats. But beyond their utilitarian purpose, the precise arrangement of these homes in a circular formation hints at a more complex social structure. Was this a simple village? Or did the layout of Khirokitia reflect something deeper, perhaps a symbolic or ritualistic design? The walls of the structures are built with a technique known as dry stone construction, where the stones are stacked without the use of mortar. This method of construction, though simple, requires careful selection of stones and an understanding of how they can be stacked to provide strength and stability. The buildings at Khirokitia are a remarkable testament to the craftsmanship of the Neolithic people who built them. Yet the questions surrounding their construction only deepen as we consider the organization of the settlement itself. Unlike other contemporary Neolithic settlements, the houses at Khirokitia were not arranged in a haphazard or random manner, but rather in a carefully planned design. The dwellings form concentric circles, with larger homes positioned near the center and smaller ones at the periphery. This intentional layout raises an intriguing question. Was there a specific social or religious order that dictated the placement of these structures? Did the position of a house within the settlement reflect the status or role of its inhabitant? Further complicating the mystery of Khirokitia is the discovery of unusual burial practices at the site. Unlike other Neolithic settlements where burials were often placed outside of the living area, the people of Khirokitia buried their dead beneath the floors of their homes, often in the central areas of the dwellings. These burial sites are marked by small stone markers, sometimes surrounded by offerings of tools or pottery. The choice to bury the dead within the settlement itself suggests a belief in the continued presence of the deceased within the community, but it also raises questions about the relationship between the living and the dead in Neolithic societies. Was the placement of the dead within the living space a way of maintaining a spiritual connection with ancestors? Or could it have been a ritualistic practice, signifying the belief that the spirits of the deceased had an active role in the ongoing life of the community? Archaeologists have also uncovered evidence of elaborate stone and clay figurines at Khirokitia, some of which depict human forms. These figures are thought to be fertility symbols or representations of deities, suggesting that the people of Khirokitia may have practiced some form of animism or early religious worship. The presence of these figurines raises another question. Did the settlement of Khirokitia have a structured religious or spiritual system, or were the beliefs more personal and local? The figurines, many of which are stylized and abstract, may have been used in rituals, but the exact nature of these practices is unknown. As we examine the layout of Khirokitia more closely, it becomes evident that the settlement was not simply a collection of homes, but rather a carefully crafted environment. There are hints of communal spaces, such as large open areas that may have been used for gathering or ritual activities. Some researchers have speculated that Khirokitia may have been more than a typical Neolithic village. Perhaps it was a ceremonial center, a place where people from surrounding areas gathered for religious or cultural events. Could it have served as a hub for trade or pilgrimage, drawing people from distant regions to its sacred spaces? The mystery of Khirokitia's true role in the ancient world remains unresolved. What is perhaps most perplexing about Khirokitia is the absence of certain elements we might expect from other Neolithic sites. Unlike many ancient settlements, there are no clear signs of a large-scale agricultural system or significant storage facilities. While there is evidence of domesticated animals and farming tools, the settlement's reliance on agriculture does not appear to be as developed as that of other contemporary sites. Could this suggest that the people of Khirokitia lived a more semi-nomadic lifestyle, moving between sites as the seasons changed? Or were they part of a larger, more interconnected network of settlements, relying on trade for their sustenance? There is also the curious fact that, despite the apparent sophistication of the settlement, Khirokitia was abandoned around 2500 BC. The reasons for this sudden abandonment remain a mystery. Was it the result of environmental changes, such as a shift in climate or the depletion of resources? Or was it caused by a conflict, invasion, or societal upheaval? The lack of written records from this period makes it difficult to pinpoint the exact cause, leaving us to wonder what might have driven the inhabitants of Khirokitia to leave behind their carefully constructed homes and the rich cultural practices they had developed. As we stand before the stone dwellings of Khirokitia, the mystery only deepens. Was this ancient settlement a simple farming village, or did it serve a deeper, more symbolic purpose? Were the intricate arrangements of the homes designed to reflect social status, religious beliefs, or astronomical knowledge? The ritualistic burial practices and the figurines found at the site suggest a society with complex spiritual or cultural systems, but we may never fully understand the full scope of those beliefs. The unanswered questions surrounding Khirokitia leave us with much to ponder. How much do we truly know about the lives of those who lived here? What knowledge, traditions, and practices have been lost to time? As we continue our exploration of the ancient world, we are reminded that sometimes the answers to history's most fascinating mysteries are buried beneath the surface, waiting for the right questions to bring them to light. Leaving behind the enigmatic stone structures of Khirokitia, we journey to the Indian subcontinent, where a less well-known but equally intriguing archaeological site has slowly begun to reveal its secrets. Sisupalgarh, one of the earliest known fortified cities in India. Situated near the modern city of Bhubaneswar in Odisha, Sisupalgarh presents an ancient mystery that stretches back more than 2,500 years. But within its walls lies a proto-phase of urbanization that challenges our understanding of the ancient world. At first glance, Sisupalgarh seems to be a place frozen in time, its walls, once towering and impenetrable, now little more than a series of earthen embankments and stone remnants. Yet, beneath the surface, this ancient site holds secrets that could redefine our understanding of the Indian subcontinent's early cities. Unlike many other ancient sites, where the focus is on palaces or temples, Sisupalgarh was a city in the truest sense, a place of commerce, defense, and daily life, all bound together by the vast ramparts that encircle it. The most striking feature of Sisupalgarh is its defensive walls. These walls, constructed from sandstone and mud, stretch across several kilometers, forming a near-perfect square around the city. The walls are not just crude barriers, they were purposefully designed with impressive architectural sophistication. Their construction suggests a highly organized society capable of complex engineering techniques, even in the earliest phases of urbanization in the Indian subcontinent. Yet the walls are not the only mystery of Sisupalgarh. The city itself is a complex puzzle, with streets, drainage systems, and residential areas that hint at a thriving, structured urban center. How did these people, living in a proto-phase of urbanization, possess the foresight and ability to construct a city with such thought and care? Archaeologists have discovered multiple layers of settlement at Sisupalgarh, suggesting that the site was continuously inhabited for centuries. The oldest phase of the city, known as the Proto-Phase, dates back to around the 6th century BC. It is during this early phase that the settlement is thought to have evolved from a simple village to a fortified city, complete with walls, roads, and defensive structures. What is particularly intriguing about the Proto-Phase is its apparent connection to the ancient kingdom of Kalinga, a region that played a significant role in Indian history. Was Sisupalgarh part of this larger political and cultural context? And how did its early inhabitants manage to create such an advanced urban center during a time when many parts of the world were still in the early stages of city building? The city of Sisupalgarh is believed to have been one of the key centers of the Kalinga kingdom, which would later become famous for its conflict with the Mauryan emperor Ashoka in the 3rd century BC. Yet, in the Proto-Phase, the city was not just a military stronghold. It was a thriving urban hub, marked by a grid-like structure that suggests careful planning and organization. The streets of Sisupalgarh were wide and well-defined, and the homes within the city were built in a manner that indicates a settled, complex society. Large public spaces, possibly used for gatherings or markets, are scattered throughout the site, revealing a city that was not only focused on defense but also on trade, culture, and civic life. But as impressive as the urban layout is, it is the remains of the buildings within Sisupalgarh that present an even greater mystery. The buildings themselves were constructed using a mix of brick and stone, and while their foundations have survived, much of the superstructure is no longer standing. What is particularly striking about these buildings is their sheer size and scale. Some of the structures appear to have been quite large, suggesting that this was a city with a growing population and a complex social hierarchy. However, very little has been uncovered about what these buildings were used for. Were they homes, public buildings, or perhaps even early temples? The lack of detailed records means that the exact function of these spaces remains unclear. Among the most intriguing discoveries at Sisupalgarh are the fragments of pottery, tools, and sculptures that have been uncovered throughout the site. Many of these artifacts are typical of the period and suggest that the people of Sisupalgarh had trade connections with other parts of the ancient world. Pottery shards found at the site feature designs that are similar to those found in regions as far afield as the Iranian plateau, raising the possibility that Sisupalgarh was part of an extensive trade network. But it is the sculptures that present an even deeper puzzle. Some of the carvings depict human figures, but there are also more abstract designs, including animal motifs and geometric patterns. Could these sculptures have had religious or symbolic significance? And if so, what did they represent? Were they part of early rituals, or were they symbols of power, meant to convey the status of the rulers of Sisupalgarh? One of the most fascinating aspects of the Sisupalgarh site is its unusual layout, which hints at a level of planning and organization that was ahead of its time. Unlike many other ancient cities, which developed in a more organic manner, Sisupalgarh appears to have been purposefully designed from the outset. Its defensive walls form a near-perfect square, a highly unusual shape for an ancient city. This raises several questions. Was the square layout of the city symbolic, meant to represent a connection between the cosmos and the earthly realm, or was it simply a functional design meant to maximize defense and control? The unique shape of the city, along with its strategic location near vital trade routes, suggests that the builders of Sisupalgarh were not simply reacting to their environment. They were actively shaping it, creating a city that could stand the test of time. Despite the impressive achievements of the Proto-Phase of Sisupalgarh, much remains shrouded in mystery. One of the greatest unanswered questions is the exact nature of the city's collapse. Evidence suggests that the city was eventually abandoned or destroyed, but there are no clear indications as to why this happened. Was it a result of external invasion, internal conflict, or a change in the political landscape of the region? Given the strategic location of Sisupalgarh, it is possible that the city was caught in the shifting tides of regional power struggles, especially as the larger kingdom of Kalinga eventually came under the rule of the Mauryas. Another puzzle is the sudden abandonment of such a highly developed urban center. The site shows no signs of gradual decline, but rather appears to have been left behind in a relatively short period of time. This suggests that something dramatic occurred to cause the people of Sisupalgarh to leave, but the reasons remain unclear. Was there a catastrophic event that led to the city's downfall, or did a cultural or political shift make the city redundant? The absence of written records means that these questions are unlikely to be answered definitively, but the mystery surrounding the city's collapse adds another layer of intrigue to an already enigmatic site. As we stand before the remnants of Sisupalgarh, with its towering walls and silent streets, we are reminded of how much of the ancient world remains hidden from us. The Proto-Phase of Sisupalgarh represents a time of early urbanization, a moment when the people of this region were taking their first steps toward creating complex, organized cities. Yet, despite the advancements of the time, much about their culture, their beliefs, and their eventual fate remains a mystery. What knowledge, technologies, and traditions have been lost to time? And what hidden stories might yet be uncovered beneath the earth of Sisupalgarh, waiting to be discovered by those willing to dig deeper into the past? From the ancient walls of Sisupalgarh, we now turn our gaze westward to the arid plains of the Peruvian coast, where another mysterious civilization once flourished. There, rising like ghostly monuments from the desert landscape, are the remains of Chan Chan, the capital of the Chimu civilization. Chan Chan was once the largest pre-Columbian city in South America, a sprawling metropolis whose inner compounds continue to baffle archaeologists. Today, as we stand before the weathered ruins of its vast walls, we are faced with questions that have yet to be fully answered. What exactly did these inner compounds represent? And how were they designed to function within this highly organized society? Located near the city of Trujillo in modern-day Peru, Chan Chan was the capital of the Chimu civilization, which flourished from about 900 to 1470 AD before falling to the Inca Empire. The city was built entirely from adobe bricks, with massive walls adorned with intricate designs and geometric patterns. Within its boundaries lie vast enclosures, or inner compounds, each one more mysterious than the last. These compounds, sprawling in size and complexity, are thought to have served as administrative centers, religious sanctuaries, and elite residences. But despite decades of research, their precise function remains elusive. The inner compounds of Chan Chan stand in sharp contrast to the surrounding desert landscape. The city, once a thriving hub of commerce, culture, and politics, is now a stark and silent reminder of the past. The adobe walls, weathered by centuries of wind and sun, rise to towering heights, their surfaces etched with designs that are both decorative and symbolic. Some of these walls feature reliefs of animals, such as birds, fish, and llamas, while others depict intricate patterns, almost like ancient hieroglyphs, whose meanings are still not fully understood. These designs may have been more than mere decoration. They could have served as a form of communication, or perhaps even as a way to convey the city's power and prestige. As we walk deeper into the inner compounds, the layout becomes apparent. Large, open courtyards surrounded by long rectangular buildings. Each compound is enclosed by thick adobe walls, creating a sense of isolation and protection. It is clear that these were spaces of importance, places reserved for the elite members of Chimu society. But the question remains, what was the true role of these compounds? Were they palatial residences, religious centers, or administrative hubs? The size and complexity of the compounds suggest they were more than just living quarters. Perhaps they were used for ceremonial purposes, where the rulers of Chan Chan would conduct rituals and make important decisions. Or could they have been places of governance, where officials oversaw the affairs of the kingdom. The most intriguing feature of the Chimu inner compounds is their sheer scale. Unlike the simple dwellings of ordinary Chimu people, which were smaller and less elaborate, the structures within these compounds were monumental in size, designed to accommodate large numbers of people and vast quantities of resources. In some areas, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of storage rooms filled with offerings, ceramics, textiles, and foodstuffs that may have been used in rituals or as tributes to the gods. These compounds seem to have been not just living spaces but hubs of power and control, offering a glimpse into the hierarchical nature of Chimu society. The Chimu civilization, with its sophisticated irrigation systems and intricate art, was clearly an advanced society. Yet much about their culture and their religious practices remains a mystery. The inner compounds of Chanchan may hold the key to understanding this enigmatic people. Could these spaces have been places of spiritual significance, where rituals were performed to ensure the prosperity and well-being of the Chimu kingdom? Or were they simply administrative centers where the rulers managed their vast empire? One of the most compelling theories about the function of the inner compounds is that they may have been used for ancestor worship. The Chimu were deeply reverent of their ancestors, and many of the artifacts found within the Chanchan complex seem to suggest a focus on death and the afterlife. Numerous human remains, often associated with rituals, have been found at the site, and there are indications that the rulers of Chanchan may have used these compounds to honor the dead. Perhaps these inner compounds were spaces where rulers and high-ranking officials gathered to conduct ceremonies designed to honor their ancestors and connect with the spiritual realm. Adding to the mystery is the discovery of a vast, interconnected system of passageways and hidden chambers that seem to run beneath the compounds. These subterranean spaces are not easily visible to the casual observer, but recent excavations have begun to uncover their extent. Were these hidden areas part of a larger network of control, perhaps used for secretive purposes, such as political intrigue or the preservation of sacred relics? Or did they serve a more practical function, such as storing resources for times of scarcity or conflict? The existence of these hidden chambers only deepens the mystery of Chanchan and its inner compounds. What is perhaps most fascinating about Chanchan is the contrast between its outward grandeur and the secrets it seems to keep hidden. While the Chimu were undoubtedly skilled builders, capable of constructing vast complexes of adobe architecture, they left behind little in the way of written records or inscriptions to explain the meaning of these spaces. What we know about the Chimu comes primarily from archaeological discoveries, but these can only provide fragmented glimpses into a much larger, complex society. Many of the inner compounds remain partially unexcavated, and what has been uncovered still offers few definitive answers. The reliefs on the walls, the intricate patterns, and the human remains all suggest a culture that was rich in symbolism, spiritual beliefs, and social stratification. Yet as we stand before these imposing walls, we are reminded of how much we have yet to learn about the Chimu civilization. What did the rulers of Chanchan hope to achieve by creating these grand structures? Were they simply expressions of wealth and power, or did they have a more profound spiritual purpose? The absence of written records only adds to the mystique of Chanchan. Much of what we know about the Chimu comes from the stories passed down by later cultures, such as the Inca, who conquered the Chimu in the 15th century. Yet even these accounts are often shrouded in myth and legend. As we ponder the purpose of the inner compounds, we are reminded that many of history's greatest mysteries lie in the spaces between what is known and what is not. Could the answer to the riddle of Chanchan still lie buried beneath the sands of the Peruvian desert, waiting to be uncovered by future generations of archaeologists? And what other secrets might yet be revealed within the walls of these silent ancient compounds? As we leave behind the arid landscapes of Chan Chan, our journey takes us to the Mediterranean coast of modern-day Turkey, where the jagged cliffs and rocky hillsides conceal another ancient mystery. There, nestled among the towering rock formations, stand the Lycian rock tombs, elaborate burial sites carved into the sheer faces of limestone cliffs. These ancient tombs, some of which date back to the 4th century BC, offer an extraordinary glimpse into the burial practices of the Lycian people, but they also raise questions that have remained unanswered for centuries. The Lycian rock tombs are located in the region of Lycia, in what was once the heart of the Lycian civilization. These tombs, found in and around the modern-day town of Fethi, are some of the most striking and mysterious funerary structures in the ancient world. From a distance, they appear almost as part of the mountain itself, their intricate carvings and dramatic facades blending seamlessly with the natural landscape. As we approach one of the tombs, the sheer scale of the structures becomes evident. The tombs are carved directly into the rock, with facades that resemble the front of grand temples or palaces. Some have columns, friezes, and even elaborate reliefs depicting the deceased, their families, and sometimes gods or mythological creatures. But while the tombs are impressive in their artistry, it is the sheer mystery of their construction that continues to intrigue archaeologists and historians alike. The Lycian people, who inhabited this region for centuries, were known for their distinctive and sophisticated culture. They had their own unique language, a blend of Anatolian and Hellenistic influences, and a rich pantheon of gods and goddesses. The Lycian rock tombs are thought to have been built to honor the elite members of Lycian society, kings, queens, and high-ranking officials. But the mystery lies in how these tombs were constructed. Some of the tombs are located high up on steep cliffs, seemingly inaccessible by ordinary means. How did the Lycians reach such heights to carve these elaborate tombs into solid rock? Was there a special technique or system of scaffolding that we have yet to fully understand? Or perhaps they had methods of climbing and construction that have been lost to time. These questions remain largely unanswered, but they suggest a level of ingenuity and architectural skill that the Lycians may have possessed in ways we still do not fully comprehend. The tombs themselves vary in size and style, but most share certain common features. Many of the tombs are housed within large rectangular structures, complete with intricate facades that resemble the architectural styles of both Greek and Persian influences. These facades are often adorned with ornate columns, doors, and windows, giving the tombs an almost palatial appearance. Some of the tombs even have large carved stone coffins, placed inside a chamber that may have once been sealed. The elaborate design of the tombs speaks to the high status of those buried within, but the artistry also suggests that these were not simply places for the dead. They were, in a way, homes for the afterlife. Perhaps most interesting are the so-called rock-cut sarcophagi. These massive stone coffins, which were often placed in open-air burial chambers, have been found in various sizes and shapes, some of them large enough to hold multiple individuals. These sarcophagi were often elaborately carved with images of the deceased, their families, or scenes from their lives. This practice of creating personalized burial chambers suggests a deep belief in the afterlife, one where the dead were not just remembered, but actively honored in death. The fact that these tombs were carved from solid rock raises another question. Why did the Lycians choose such a labor-intensive method of burial? Was it a reflection of their reverence for the deceased, or was there a more symbolic purpose behind it? As we delve deeper into the Lycian rock tombs, we encounter an intriguing mix of influences. The tombs show clear signs of Greek influence, particularly in their architectural styles. The use of columns and the incorporation of classical Greek elements, such as friezes and pediments, suggest that the Lycians were in close contact with the Greek world, possibly through trade or cultural exchange. Yet, at the same time, the tombs maintain a distinctly Lycian identity, with unique features that cannot be attributed to Greek or other neighboring cultures. This blend of local traditions and external influences raises another fascinating question. Were the Lycian rock tombs part of a larger cosmopolitan network where multiple cultures and ideas intersected? Or did the Lycians maintain a strong sense of autonomy and cultural identity, even as they engaged with the wider Mediterranean world? One of the most curious aspects of the Lycian rock tombs is the absence of definitive inscriptions or written records within the tombs themselves. In contrast to other ancient civilizations, where rulers and elites often left behind inscriptions detailing their achievements, the Lycians seem to have preferred a more subtle approach to recording their history. While many of the tombs feature reliefs of the deceased, these images rarely include textual inscriptions that identify the individual. This raises the possibility that the Lycians may have had a different approach to historical record-keeping, one that did not rely on written language but instead used visual storytelling. Perhaps the reliefs themselves, with their detailed depictions of life, were meant to convey the essence of the person's life and achievements. But without accompanying texts, we are left to interpret these visual cues on our own, adding another layer of mystery to the Lycian rock tombs. Despite the impressive scale and craftsmanship of these tombs, many of the specifics surrounding their purpose and construction remain speculative. What is clear is that the Lycians placed great importance on death and the afterlife. The sheer effort involved in carving these elaborate tombs into the rock suggests a deeply ingrained belief in an afterlife, one where the dead were not only remembered but honored in a lasting, permanent way. The rock tombs, which often appear to be perched high above the surrounding landscape, may also have had a symbolic function. Could they have been intended to give the deceased an elevated position, allowing them to watch over their descendants and the lands they once ruled? Or were they meant to provide a sense of immortality, as if the very rock itself would preserve the memory of the dead for eternity? Adding to the mystery of the Lycian rock tombs is the way in which they were constructed. Some of the tombs are carved from the rock with such precision that it is hard to imagine the tools or methods that could have been used. The Lycians did not have access to the same advanced tools that we use today, and yet they were able to create these elaborate tombs with remarkable accuracy. How did they manage to carve such intricate details, and how did they move the massive stones used to create the tombs? Was there a long-forgotten technique that allowed them to work with rock in ways we have yet to discover? The mystery of the construction techniques is just one more unanswered question in the puzzle of the Lycian rock tombs. As we stand before these silent tombs, carved into the face of the rock, it is impossible not to feel the weight of history. The Lycian rock tombs are not just burial places. They are a testament to the ingenuity, artistry, and beliefs of a long-lost civilization. Yet, even as we admire their grandeur, the mysteries surrounding their construction and purpose linger, as tantalizing and elusive as ever. Were they simply elaborate graves, or did they serve a larger, more symbolic role in Lycian society? What was the true purpose of these rock-carved monuments? And perhaps most haunting of all, what other secrets might lie hidden within the cliffs of Lycia, waiting to be uncovered by future generations of archaeologists? The Lycian rock tombs stand as a silent reminder that there is still much about the ancient world that remains lost to time, waiting for the right questions to bring it to light. From the towering Lycian rock tombs in the Mediterranean, we now shift our focus to the dense, misty highlands of Guatemala, where another ancient civilization left behind a legacy of mystery and intrigue. Here, nestled in the foothills of the Sierra Madre mountain range, lies the enigmatic site of Takalik, Abaj, an ancient city whose terraces, monumental structures, and elusive origins continue to confound archaeologists and historians alike. Takalik Abaj was once a thriving center of power and influence, yet today it is mostly a forgotten remnant of the pre-Columbian world. Its terraces, some still visible despite centuries of erosion, hold the key to understanding the rise of Mesoamerican civilization. But how much of its history remains hidden beneath the soil, waiting to be unearthed? The landscape of Takalik Abaj is as mysterious as the site itself. Situated at an elevation of around 1,100 meters, the site covers several square kilometers and is dotted with massive terraces and plazas, all framed by a thick jungle that has gradually reclaimed much of the area. The terraces themselves are remarkable. Large, flat, raised platforms built into the natural slopes of the terrain. Some of these terraces have been expertly crafted with finely laid stones, while others seem more rudimentary, suggesting that the site evolved over time, its purpose shifting as the needs of the people who lived here changed. Some terraces are thought to have served agricultural purposes, while others may have been platforms for ceremonial or social gatherings. These terraces, with their irregular shapes and sizes, provide a subtle clue to the complexity of the city, a place where practical needs coexisted alongside ritual significance. As we explore Takalik Abaj, we are drawn to the large stone monuments that dot the site. Unlike the more widely known and polished stelae of the Maya, the Takalik Abaj monuments are rough-hewn and mysterious. Many of these colossal stones bear intricately carved faces, some of which resemble jaguar motifs or figures in traditional Mesoamerican iconography. These reliefs, often weathered by centuries of rain and wind, depict human figures wearing elaborate headdresses and adorned with necklaces, perhaps representations of rulers, priests, or gods. But what is particularly fascinating is the blending of cultures evident in these monuments. The stonework at Takalik Abaj is strikingly similar to early Olmec art, suggesting a possible influence or even direct connection between the Olmec and the civilizations that would later flourish in Mesoamerica. Could Takalik Abaj have been an early Olmec colony, or perhaps a trading post where different Mesoamerican cultures exchanged goods, ideas, and artistic traditions? It's a tantalizing possibility, especially given the apparent overlap in styles between Olmec and Mayan art. The Olmecs, known for their colossal stone heads and enigmatic symbols, were a major influence on later civilizations, including the Maya. Some of the reliefs found at Takalik Abaj even depict glyphs that closely resemble the early forms of Mayan writing, raising the question of whether the site played a role in the development of written language in Mesoamerica. But with no written records left behind, we can only speculate about the true nature of Takalik Abaj's relationship to these early cultures. Though some of the monumental art at Takalik Abaj has been dated to the late preclassic period, around 400 BC to 100 AD, the site appears to have been in use for much longer, with evidence of earlier occupation stretching back as far as 1000 BC. This places Takalik Abaj in the heart of the preclassic period of Mesoamerican civilization, a time when the foundations of what would become the Maya civilization were being laid. Yet, as with so many other ancient sites, the exact timeline and origins of Takalik Abaj remain elusive. Was it a settlement of early agriculturalists, slowly developing into a ceremonial center? Or was it the seat of a powerful political entity, wielding influence across the region? The lack of definitive evidence means that Takalik Abaj could represent any number of things: a thriving trade hub, a religious center, or even an early Maya capital. What we do know is that Takalik Abaj was a highly structured society, as evidenced by its terraces, monumental architecture, and the large, well-planned plazas. The layout of the site suggests that there was a clear sense of organization and hierarchy among its inhabitants. The terraces, with their careful attention to geometry, speak to a people who were not only capable of complex engineering, but who were also deeply attuned to their environment, designing their city to fit within the natural contours of the land. The site's impressive layout suggests that Takalik Abaj was not a random collection of structures, but rather a city that had been thoughtfully and intentionally built, possibly as a reflection of the power of its rulers. Yet, the mystery of Takalik Abaj does not end with its architectural achievements. Perhaps the greatest enigma lies in its eventual abandonment. Despite its grandeur and strategic location, the site was gradually abandoned by the 9th century AD, long before the rise of the great Maya cities like Tikal or Calakmul. What caused the people of Takalik Abaj to leave? Was it environmental factors, such as changing weather patterns or the depletion of resources? Or was it the result of internal conflict, external invasion, or the shifting tides of political power in the region? While there are several theories, the truth remains elusive. The absence of definitive evidence leaves open the possibility that Takalik Abaj's abandonment may have been tied to factors that we have yet to fully understand. The influence of Takalik Abaj on the broader Maya world is another puzzle that remains to be solved. Some scholars believe that the site was a precursor to later Maya cities, serving as a model for the grand ceremonial centers that would later define Maya civilization. Its unique mixture of Olmec and early Maya elements suggests that Takalik Abaj was a bridge between two major cultural traditions, and the mysteries of its art, architecture, and eventual decline may offer key insights into the origins of the Maya themselves. Despite decades of archaeological excavation, Takalik Abaj continues to hold more questions than answers. The site's combination of pre-Columbian and early Maya influences creates a fascinating tapestry of cultural exchange. But without written records, it is difficult to piece together the full story. What role did Takalik Abaj play in the larger Mesoamerican world? Was it an important political or religious center, or did it serve other purposes that remain hidden beneath the soil? And why did this once flourishing city, with its impressive terraces and monumental art, fade into obscurity? As we stand among the weathered stones of Takalik Abaj, we are reminded that the mysteries of the ancient world are often more complex than they first appear. This once thriving city may hold secrets that challenge our understanding of Mesoamerican history, secrets that may not be revealed until the right questions are asked and the right tools are applied. What is certain is that Takalik Abaj, like so many ancient sites, still has much to teach us about the people who once called it home, and the history that has yet to be fully uncovered. How many more secrets remain hidden beneath its terraces, waiting to be discovered? From the misty shores of Guatemala, we now turn our attention northward, across the northern seas, to the windswept archipelago of Orkney, off the northern coast of Scotland. Beneath its tranquil green hills and along its rugged coastline lies one of the most extraordinary and mysterious archaeological sites in the British Isles, Skara Brae. Here, among the gentle hills, are the remains of a Neolithic settlement that seems to offer a rare and fascinating glimpse into the daily life of prehistoric people. Yet Skara Brae hides many secrets beneath its weathered stones. The village of Skara Brae is one of the best preserved Neolithic settlements in Europe, dating back more than 5,000 years, to around 3,200 BC. Its core is composed of a cluster of well-constructed stone houses, connected by narrow passageways. Each house, with its rounded walls and low ceilings, appears like a primitive dwelling, but the level of organization and care with which the community was built speaks to a sophisticated understanding of architecture and communal living. Even after thousands of years, these stone structures retain their distinctive, almost eerie sense of purpose. As we stand before the ruins, it's difficult not to imagine how these once functional homes would have looked in their prime, nestled along the windswept coastline, their thatched roofs protecting their inhabitants from the cold and harsh elements. The construction of the Skara Brae houses is as impressive as it is enigmatic. Each home is built from large stone blocks, carefully arranged to form curved walls that taper inward, creating a domed structure. The houses were not simple shelters. They were equipped with a range of features designed for practical use. Each house had its own stone hearth, with benches built into the walls and a central pit for a fire. The layout of the village suggests a highly organized society, with a clear division of space for both work and living. Inside the houses, archaeologists have discovered an array of personal items: pottery, stone tools, animal bones, and ornaments, all of which provide a glimpse into the lives of those who once called Skara Brae home. But as impressive as the architecture is, it is the way in which the village was built that raises so many questions. How were these structures constructed without the use of advanced tools or even metal? The stones used in Skara Brae are large and heavy, yet the builders managed to shape and fit them with remarkable precision. The use of intricate jointing and a unique building technique suggests that the people of Skara Brae possessed a sophisticated understanding of masonry. But the methods used to construct these homes remain a mystery. Was there a system of ropes, pulleys, or other tools now lost to time? Or was there a knowledge of stonework, passed down through generations, that we still do not fully comprehend? Despite the careful construction, Skara Brae was abandoned around 2400 BC for reasons that remain unknown. Archaeologists have proposed a range of theories. Some believe that changing climatic conditions, particularly a shift towards colder, wetter weather, may have made life at Skara Brae increasingly difficult. Others suggest that the settlement was abandoned due to social or political upheaval, possibly the result of external threats or internal strife. Yet, no clear answers have emerged, and the reasons behind the abandonment of Skara Brae continue to elude scholars. What caused a thriving community, which seemed to have mastered its environment, to leave their homes and vanish into the mist? Adding to the mystery is the fact that Skara Brae was discovered relatively recently, only in the 19th century, when a fierce storm uncovered the settlement, revealing it to the world. As the storm eroded the sand dunes along the coast, the stone houses began to emerge from the earth, revealing their remarkably well-preserved state. The discovery of Skara Brae has been called one of the most important archaeological finds in the history of prehistoric Britain, and yet, as archaeologists have continued to excavate the site, it has become clear that many aspects of the settlement remain shrouded in mystery. Perhaps one of the most intriguing features of Skara Brae is the apparent social structure that can be inferred from its layout. While each house seems to have been designed to accommodate a family, with separate spaces for living, cooking, and sleeping, there are subtle differences in the size and decoration of the homes. Some houses are larger than others, and in certain houses, there are signs of more elaborate furnishings and items of personal value. Could these differences suggest a society with distinct social hierarchies? Were certain families or individuals considered more important than others? And if so, how did this influence the organization of the settlement? What was the role of the ruling class, or perhaps the religious elite, in the day-to-day life of Skara Brae? The artifacts found at Skara Brae also offer tantalizing clues about the society that inhabited the site. Among the most notable discoveries are intricately carved bone and stone objects, many of which appear to have ritual significance. Some of these objects resemble those found in other Neolithic sites across Europe, suggesting that there were shared cultural practices. But there are also unique items, like large, flat stones that some believe may have been used in early forms of gaming or divination. Could these objects represent something more than mere tools or playthings? Could they have had spiritual significance, playing a role in rituals or ceremonies conducted by the inhabitants of Skara Brae? Yet, despite these intriguing finds, Skara Brae remains a place of unanswered questions. The people who lived here seem to have been deeply connected to their environment, with their homes and lives designed around the natural resources available to them. But what else did they believe about the world around them? What role did spirituality, mythology, or even an early form of religion play in the life of Skara Brae? Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of animal remains, possibly from sacrifices, but no definitive proof has been found to explain the deeper symbolic or ritualistic meaning behind these actions. Was Skara Brae a place of worship as much as a place of living? Even more unsettling are the possible connections between Skara Brae and other ancient sites across Europe, which may have shared cultural and religious practices. Could there have been a network of settlements, united by common beliefs or trade routes, that spanned much of northern Europe? Some scholars have suggested that Skara Brae could be part of a much larger, long-forgotten cultural tradition, one that extended beyond the boundaries of Orkney. Was Skara Brae just a small part of something far more significant, something lost to time, perhaps intentionally hidden, waiting for discovery? Adding to the intrigue is the ongoing mystery surrounding the site's ultimate abandonment. Was it an environmental collapse, a resource shortage, or something more? In the absence of written records, the reasons behind the end of Skara Brae remain unknown, and the settlement's sudden disappearance adds another layer to the mystery. Some have even speculated that it was not a sudden shift in climate or politics that caused the people to leave, but perhaps a ritualistic departure, a shift to a new form of life, or a new place of settlement in keeping with ancient customs we still don't fully understand. As we leave Skara Brae behind, the silence of the place hangs heavy in the air. The ruins, so meticulously constructed, so deeply intertwined with the land, stand as both a testament to human ingenuity and a reminder of how little we truly know. The past still whispers here, in the winds that carry across the hills and in the stones that mark the earth. What secrets lie buried beneath the sands, and what answers do these ancient structures still have to offer? Will the future bring clarity? Or will Skara Brae remain forever, a mystery lost to time? As we leave the windswept shores of Skara Brae, we travel southward, deep into the heart of the Peruvian Andes. There, high above the Utcubamba Valley, stands the towering and mysterious Kuelap Fortress, an ancient stone citadel that rises above the clouds like a forgotten sentinel. Known as the Machu Picchu of the north, Kuelap is a breathtaking and awe-inspiring sight, its massive stone walls blending harmoniously with the rugged landscape. But beyond its visual grandeur, the fortress holds a wealth of unanswered questions that continue to puzzle archaeologists, historians, and explorers alike. Perched at an elevation of over 3,000 meters, Kuelap is a testament to the skill and ingenuity of the Chachapoya, a civilization whose name means cloud people in the local Quechua language. Little is known about the Chachapoya. Their origins, their culture, and their eventual disappearance remain shrouded in mystery. Yet Kuelap, their greatest architectural achievement, stands as an enduring symbol of their power and sophistication. With its towering walls, intricately carved stonework, and complex layout, Kuelap evokes both wonder and uncertainty. How could such a monumental site have been built in such a remote and inaccessible location? What was its true purpose, and why was it abandoned? The fortress is a labyrinth of stone, with walls that stretch for over 600 meters in length and reach heights of up to 20 meters in places. The structure is composed of massive limestone blocks, quarried from the surrounding mountains, and skillfully placed without the use of mortar. The precision with which the stones were cut and fitted together is astounding, and the sheer scale of the site suggests that its builders possessed advanced knowledge of engineering and construction techniques. Yet the size and complexity of Kuelap are not the only things that make it remarkable. The site is surrounded by a dense forest, and its remote location makes it difficult to access even today, adding to its mystique. Inside the fortress, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of a once thriving population. The ruins include numerous circular structures, likely homes or communal buildings, as well as large terraces and platforms that may have served as ceremonial spaces. The layout of the site suggests a highly organized society, with designated areas for both domestic and public life. What remains most striking, however, are the intricate carvings found on the walls of many of the buildings. These carvings, which depict a wide range of motifs, from geometric patterns to representations of animals and human figures, are unlike anything seen in other ancient cultures of the Andes. The symbolism behind these carvings remains unclear, and their meaning continues to elude scholars. Could these carvings represent the spiritual beliefs of the Chachapoya, or were they used to record important events, such as battles or political alliances? Despite the grandeur of Kuelap, there is much we still do not know about its construction and purpose. One of the most intriguing aspects of the site is the mystery surrounding the Chachapoya people themselves. The Chachapoya were known for their distinctive culture, but much of their history has been lost to time. They were conquered by the Inca in the late 15th century, and after the Inca invasion, their culture gradually faded from the historical record. Yet Kuelap remains as a silent testament to their once thriving civilization. What caused the Chachapoya to build such an imposing fortress in the first place? Was it a symbol of power, a religious center, or a military stronghold designed to protect them from external threats? Or perhaps it was all of these things, a multifunctional site that reflected the complexity of the Chachapoya society. Theories abound regarding the purpose of Kuelap. Some scholars believe that the fortress was primarily a defensive structure designed to protect the Chachapoya from raids by neighboring tribes or later conquerors like the Inca. The steep cliffs and dense forests surrounding the site would have made it difficult for invaders to approach, adding to its strategic advantage. Yet, the scale and design of Kuelap suggest that it may have had other functions as well. Its expansive terraces, for example, may have been used for agriculture or ritual purposes, as the Chachapoya were known for their advanced agricultural techniques. Additionally, the sheer number of structures within the fortress indicates that it may have housed a sizable population, perhaps a large political or religious elite, or a community of people whose role was to maintain and protect the site. Adding to the mystery is the question of how Kuelap was built in the first place. The Chachapoya were not known for their advanced metallurgy, and the tools available to them would have been relatively basic. Yet the precision with which the stones were cut and placed is extraordinary. Some archaeologists believe that the Chachapoya may have used a system of ramps and scaffolding to transport the massive stones to their intended locations. Others suggest that they may have employed an advanced technique of stone dressing, in which stones were carefully shaped and polished to fit together without mortar. But whatever methods were used, the construction of Kuelap is a testament to the ingenuity and determination of its builders. Yet, despite the complexity of the fortress and the wealth of artifacts found at the site, Kuelap was abandoned long before the arrival of the Spanish in the 16th century. By the time the Inca arrived in the region, Kuelap had already fallen into disuse, and the Chachapoya had scattered. The reasons for this abandonment are still unknown. Some scholars speculate that the fortress was abandoned due to environmental factors, such as climate change or resource depletion. Others believe that it may have been the result of internal conflict or external pressure from the Inca. Was the fall of Kuelap a gradual process, or was it the result of a single catastrophic event? The absence of written records from the Chachapoya makes it impossible to know for certain. Even the name Kuelap itself adds an element of intrigue to the site. The word Kuelap is derived from the Quechua language and means round, which refers to the distinctive circular shape of the fortress's buildings. However, the true meaning and significance of the name, as well as the origin of the Chachapoya themselves, remains unclear. Some theories suggest that the Chachapoya were descendants of earlier Andean cultures, while others believe they may have come from the Amazonian lowlands. Was Kuelap a center of religious or political power that extended its influence across the region, or was it simply a fortified outpost? The lack of definitive answers only deepens the mystery. Today, Kuelap stands as a silent monument to a once great civilization. The fortress's walls, now weathered and worn, still bear the marks of its builder's craftsmanship. Yet the purpose behind its construction and the reasons for its abandonment continue to elude modern understanding. Was it a place of power, a refuge from war, or a sacred space for the Chachapoya? How did the builders of Kuelap, with their advanced stonework, precise architecture, and distinctive carvings, come to dominate such a rugged, remote landscape? The mysteries of Kuelap continue to intrigue, offering tantalizing glimpses into a forgotten world that remains, as of yet, only partially understood. As we stand at the edge of the fortress, overlooking the vast valley below, we are left with the haunting question: what was the true story of Kuelap? What do the stones of this ancient citadel still hold hidden in their silent embrace? As we leave the towering stone walls of Kuelap behind, we now shift our gaze westward, toward the vast, sun-drenched plains of West Africa. Here, perched on the edge of a dramatic cliff, we find one of the most striking and enigmatic archaeological sites in all of Africa, the Bandiagara Escarpment in Mali. A place where nature and human ingenuity collide. The cliff dwellings carved into the face of the escarpment offer a glimpse into a long-lost world, one that continues to haunt the imagination with its mystery and majesty. The Bandiagara Escarpment, stretching over 150 miles, rises sharply from the flat plains below. It is a dramatic landscape, a seemingly endless ridge of towering cliffs and deep ravines, cutting through the dry, scrubby terrain of the Sahel region. At the foot of this escarpment, the land sprawls out into a series of rocky plateaus where the Dogon people have lived for centuries, and where, centuries before, their ancestors built their homes directly into the cliffs themselves. The cliff dwellings, known as the Tomb of the Dogon, are nothing short of remarkable. The structures are scattered across the escarpment, appearing as if they were simply extensions of the rocks themselves, silent, stoic, and waiting to share their secrets. These cliffside dwellings, often described as fortresses of stone, were built hundreds of years ago, primarily between the 14th and 16th centuries. The Dogon people, however, have lived in the region for much longer, and their ancient customs, beliefs, and rituals are still a key part of their identity today. The dwellings themselves are made of mud brick and stone, and many are built into natural caves or hollowed-out areas along the cliff face. The stone dwellings were designed to be both homes and fortresses, providing a safe and defensible position for their inhabitants. The sheer location of these homes makes them extraordinary. To reach the cliffside settlements, one would have to climb a nearly vertical face, often with no easy path or foothold. Yet somehow, the Dogon ancestors managed to construct these elaborate homes, some of which are still standing today. How did they do it? The physical challenge of constructing these cliff dwellings is only the beginning of the mystery. When we step back and look at the broader picture, it becomes clear that the Bandiagara Escarpment and its cliff dwellings are far more than just an architectural feat. The structures themselves are often arranged in clusters, with some forming large complexes connected by a series of narrow pathways that wind between the steep ravines. Some of these compounds even contain entire villages, complete with communal spaces, sanctuaries, and burial chambers. This suggests that these cliff dwellings weren't just for defense. They were intended to be places of community and spiritual importance. The Dogon people's spiritual beliefs, especially their intricate cosmology, are deeply tied to the very landscape that surrounds them. The cliffs themselves are viewed as sacred, representing a connection between the earth and the sky, between the physical and the spiritual. The Dogon are famous for their extraordinary understanding of the cosmos, particularly their knowledge of the stars. For centuries, they have been associated with a profound knowledge of the Sirius star system, a celestial body that, according to Dogon legend, was visited by beings from another world, beings who provided the Dogon with their deep knowledge of the heavens. But how did the Dogon people, isolated in their cliffside homes, acquire such knowledge? Some scholars have suggested that the Dogon may have had contact with ancient civilizations in the Mediterranean, or even with extraterrestrial visitors. While these theories remain highly speculative and controversial, there is no denying that the Dogon people have a sophisticated and almost mystical understanding of the stars, especially Sirius, which they call Sigui. Their detailed observations and the accuracy of their star charts have baffled researchers for years. Was it simply an early form of astronomical observation, or is there something more to the Dogon's cosmic knowledge? The architecture of the Bandiagara escarpment cliff dwellings is also striking in its complexity and precision. The dwellings are built to withstand the harsh conditions of the region, high temperatures, seasonal flooding, and the ever-present threat of erosion. Many of the structures are built into the natural rock formations, with windows and doors strategically placed to allow for ventilation and to provide views of the surrounding landscape. Some of the more impressive dwellings feature elaborate facades and intricate carvings, some of which depict scenes of daily life, while others feature symbols that remain enigmatic to this day. These carvings are believed to represent the spiritual beliefs of the Dogon, and they offer a unique insight into the ancient rituals and ceremonies that once took place in these cliffside sanctuaries. Yet, while the Bandiagara escarpment remains a symbol of the Dogon people's ingenuity and spiritual connection to the land, the mystery of the cliff dwellings extends beyond just their construction. The question of why these homes were built in such a remote, seemingly inaccessible location remains unresolved. Was it purely for defensive purposes? Certainly, the steep cliffs would have made it difficult for invaders to reach the Dogon people. However, the sheer scale and complexity of the dwellings suggest that there was more at play than just protection. Could the location have been chosen for spiritual reasons? Was there a deeper symbolic significance to living in such a rugged, isolated environment, perhaps reflecting the Dogon's belief in the need to connect with the divine, to reach upward toward the heavens, where their gods resided? Furthermore, while the Dogon are renowned for their remarkable knowledge of the stars and the cosmos, their architecture and urban planning also reveal a deep understanding of the natural world. The positioning of their dwellings in relation to the surrounding landscape and the use of local materials demonstrate a sophisticated awareness of the environment and its rhythms. But how did they manage to create such precise structures with the limited tools and technology available to them? Some have proposed that the Dogon might have had a knowledge of astronomy and construction techniques that predate other known civilizations in Africa, but this remains a subject of heated debate. Perhaps the most unsettling part of the mystery is the fact that, despite their fascinating cosmological knowledge and architectural achievements, the Dogon have left few written records of their past. Much of what we know about them comes from oral traditions passed down through generations, as well as from the accounts of explorers and scholars who have studied the Dogon people. But even with all that we have learned, the true story of the Bandiagara escarpment and its cliff dwellings remains incomplete. What prompted the Dogon ancestors to build these astonishing homes high in the cliffs? Was it just a practical response to the dangers of the surrounding region, or was it tied to deeper spiritual or religious beliefs? And what secrets do the carvings, symbols, and structures hidden within these cliff dwellings still hold? As we stand at the edge of the escarpment, overlooking the vast plains below, the question remains: what else is hidden within the shadows of these ancient cliffs? What answers lie buried beneath the dust of centuries, waiting to be uncovered? The Bandiagara escarpment stands as both a testament to human ingenuity and a riddle that has yet to be fully solved, its secrets still veiled in the mist of time. Leaving the shadow of the Bandiagara escarpment, we journey back across the Mediterranean to the sun-drenched island of Corsica, where an ancient mystery waits quietly beneath the island's rugged hills. Corsica, a place where towering mountains meet crystalline seas, is home to one of the most perplexing archaeological sites in Europe, the Dolmen Cluster. This collection of ancient megalithic structures, stone monuments that have stood for thousands of years, remains a source of wonder and confusion for archaeologists and historians alike. What was their purpose? Who built them, and why did they choose such a remote and rugged location for their construction? The Dolmen Cluster is found in the region of the Castagniccia, nestled in the dense forests of northern Corsica. These monumental stone structures are often referred to as the ancient graves of the island, though their exact purpose remains unclear. The most striking feature of the dolmens is their sheer size and the precise manner in which they were constructed. Each dolmen consists of large upright stones, often weighing several tons, topped with massive horizontal slabs. The result is a structure that resembles a simple table or a small stone chamber, though its purpose and meaning are anything but simple. There are over 100 dolmens scattered across Corsica, with the most famous cluster found in the Castagniccia region. These stone formations are dispersed across the hilly, forested landscape, often situated in isolated and difficult-to-reach locations. Some are positioned on prominent hilltops, others in deep valleys, always carefully placed, as if their builders had an intimate knowledge of the land. The stones themselves, made from local granite and limestone, have withstood centuries of weathering and erosion, but they still remain standing, as silent witnesses to a forgotten time. The dolmens are typically composed of two distinct parts, the cromlech, or circular arrangement of standing stones, and the central chamber, where the horizontal stone slab lies atop the vertical stones. These chambers, often quite small, are thought to have been used as tombs, though no human remains have been found within them, adding an additional layer of mystery to their purpose. Why would an entire community go through the immense effort of dragging these massive stones into the mountains, constructing elaborate tombs that were never used as burial sites? And why, after such a monumental investment, were the dolmens abandoned? The date of the dolmens' construction is also a subject of intense debate. The earliest estimates suggest they may have been built around 2000 BC, placing them firmly within the Bronze Age. However, some researchers argue that the dolmens may be much older, possibly even older than Stonehenge itself. This raises the question: what were the people who built these structures like? The fact that the dolmens exist in such isolated regions of Corsica suggests that their builders were not part of a larger, centralized society, but instead may have been part of small, tribal communities. Did these people have the knowledge and tools to quarry and transport the massive stones that make up the dolmens? How did they manage to build such an ambitious, complex structure in a time when technological resources were limited? In addition to their size and intricate construction, the dolmens of Corsica are also significant for their mysterious alignments. Some of the dolmens appear to be intentionally positioned in relation to natural features, such as the rising sun or the positions of the stars. One of the most perplexing elements of the dolmen's placement is their apparent connection to the cycles of the moon. This suggests that the builders may have had an advanced understanding of astronomy. Did the Corsican builders possess astronomical knowledge that was on par with the great civilizations of the ancient world? Or could this simply have been a coincidence? The alignment of the dolmens with celestial events could point to the importance of the skies in the religious or spiritual beliefs of the island's inhabitants. Perhaps the dolmens were more than mere tombs. They may have been places of worship, of ritual, or even sites of cosmic significance, built to mark the passage of time, the movement of celestial bodies, or to honor the spirits of the land and the heavens. Further deepening the mystery is the fact that the dolmens were not the only megalithic structures built in the region. Over time, other similarly constructed sites, such as menhirs, tall, standing stones, and alignments, have been discovered throughout Corsica. These sites, like the dolmens, seem to be connected by a network of natural pathways and ridgelines that would have been familiar to the ancient builders. However, no written records have ever been discovered that might explain the purpose of these monuments, leaving scholars to speculate based on the limited evidence available. Some theorists have suggested that the dolmens were part of a larger religious system, with the stones acting as markers for sacred sites or pathways. Others propose that they were part of a ritualistic practice tied to the worship of ancestors or the veneration of nature. These theories are intriguing, but remain speculative at best. The lack of any clear cultural or historical records makes it difficult to understand the true purpose behind these massive stone structures. Were the dolmens intended to commemorate important leaders, heroes, or ancestors? Or were they meant to communicate with the spirits, an effort to bridge the human and divine worlds? Perhaps the most compelling aspect of the dolmen cluster is its connection to the natural landscape. The choice to build the dolmens in such remote, often perilous locations suggests that the builders believed the land itself to be sacred or imbued with spiritual power. The dolmens are not just structures of stone, they are also symbolic of the deep connection between the people who built them and the earth they inhabited. The placement of the dolmens atop high ridges or within hidden valleys may have been meant to elevate the connection between the earthly and the divine, raising the living to be closer to the stars, the mountains, and the sky. This concept of elevation, as both a physical and spiritual journey, resonates throughout ancient cultures worldwide. Could the dolmens of Corsica have been part of such a larger, shared human understanding of the sacredness of the landscape? The unanswered questions surrounding the dolmen cluster only add to their allure. What happened to the builders of these monumental structures? Did they disappear suddenly, leaving their grand creations to stand silent in the hills, abandoned? Or did their culture evolve, as so many others did, into something different, perhaps leaving behind only traces of their once glorious past? The lack of written records or any definitive explanation for the purpose of the dolmens leaves us with more questions than answers. Standing amidst these ancient stones, it is easy to be overwhelmed by the silence, the weight of history, and the realization that we may never fully understand the people who left such a striking mark on the landscape. Was their message one of spiritual devotion, political power, or something else entirely? The dolmens remain as much a riddle today as they were when they were first built, their silent stones waiting to share their story with the few who dare to listen. What truths, buried beneath centuries of stone and soil, remain hidden? What knowledge has been lost? And what mysteries still linger in the shadow of these ancient monoliths? As we leave behind the solitary dolmens of Corsica, our journey takes us eastward, across the vast stretches of the Indian Ocean, to the sun-drenched shores of Tanzania. There, along the coast where the ancient world meets the modern, we find the Kunduchi Ruins, a place shrouded in mystery and buried deep beneath the sands of time. The ruins are a silent testament to an ancient civilization, a civilization whose story is both elusive and haunting, its whispers lingering beneath the weight of centuries. The Kunduchi Ruins are situated just north of Dar es Salaam, on the Swahili coast of East Africa. Today, the site is largely forgotten by the broader world, a hidden relic of a once thriving community. The site itself is a complex network of stone structures, walls, and foundations, spread across a seemingly unremarkable area of coastal scrubland. Yet, despite the apparent simplicity of the landscape, these ruins hold an air of quiet mystery. They appear as though they are waiting to tell a story a story long lost to the passage of time. The remains of the Kunduchi site date back to the 10th century AD, making it one of the oldest known settlements in the region. Archaeologists believe that the ruins represent a coastal trading settlement, possibly linked to the great network of Swahili coast city-states that flourished between the 9th and 15th centuries. These city-states, such as Kilwa, Mombasa, and Zanzibar, were vital hubs for trade between Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, Persia, India, and beyond. They were home to bustling markets, luxurious homes, and grand mosques, all built from coral stone and wood. And yet, Kunduchi remains less celebrated than its more famous neighbors. What sets the Kunduchi ruins apart from other coastal settlements is not only their relative obscurity, but also the strange features of the structures themselves. Unlike the more sophisticated, well-preserved buildings of Kilwa or Zanzibar, the ruins at Kunduchi are characterized by a set of large, rough-hewn coral stone walls, many of which are fragmented or collapsed. The structures are rectangular, often with thick walls and narrow doorways, suggesting that they may have served as fortifications or defensive outposts. But why, in a region known for its expansive coastal cities and trade networks, did the inhabitants of Kunduchi build such stark, utilitarian structures? And why have so few of the buildings been fully excavated? The Kunduchi site seems to tell a story of a community that existed at the edges of the major trade routes, neither fully connected to the bustling cities of the coast, nor isolated from the influences of the broader world. This in-between status raises numerous questions. Was Kunduchi a waypoint for travelers, a place to rest and resupply before venturing further along the coast? Or did it serve a more defensive purpose, perhaps a lookout post or a fortified stronghold designed to protect local settlements from pirate raids or rival traders? Evidence of foreign influence is seen in the remnants of ceramic fragments, which seem to reflect the connections that the site may have had with trading networks from as far away as the Arabian Peninsula and India. Despite the rich history of trade that defined the Swahili coast, Kunduchi does not appear to have experienced the same level of prosperity or development as the larger cities of the region. There are no grand mosques or elaborate stone palaces here, no evidence of the wealth and luxury associated with places like Kilwa or Lamu. Instead, the ruins at Kunduchi seem far more modest, an odd, humble outpost in a region known for its opulence. And yet the question remains: why were the structures here built with such care, and why have they endured for so long, even as their larger counterparts have crumbled into the dust? One theory posits that Kunduchi was built not as a permanent settlement, but as a temporary stronghold for traders or travelers passing through the region. In this view, Kunduchi would have been part of a larger network of way stations, places where travelers could find refuge, repair their ships, and trade goods. Given the relatively arid and barren nature of the land surrounding the ruins, it is unlikely that the site supported a large, permanent population. Instead, the structures may have been designed for intermittent use, built quickly with locally available materials, and abandoned when no longer needed. Could the inhabitants of Kunduchi have been seafaring merchants, adventurers, or pirates, living on the fringes of the great coastal empires? Other researchers, however, have speculated that Kunduchi may have had a more complex role in the region's history. Some argue that the settlement was tied to the spread of Islam along the East African coast. The ruins show evidence of early Islamic architecture, including the remains of what may have been a small mosque or prayer hall. This raises the intriguing possibility that Kunduchi could have been a site of religious significance, a place where the influence of Islam first took root in the region, before spreading to the great coastal cities. Was Kunduchi a key location in the early days of Islam's expansion along the Swahili coast, playing a role in the religious and cultural transformation of East Africa? But the most haunting aspect of the Kunduchi ruins is not the unanswered questions about their purpose, but the sense that they have been forgotten by history itself. While other coastal settlements like Kilwa have received international recognition, Kunduchi has remained largely ignored, its secrets left hidden beneath the sands and scrub of the Tanzanian coast. There are no grand monuments here, no towering mosques or intricate coral carvings. Just the silent, crumbling walls of a once thriving outpost now reduced to a shadow of its former self. And yet, these walls seem to hold a message, one that has been waiting for someone to listen. Is it possible that the ruins of Kunduchi hold more than just the story of a small, forgotten settlement? Some suggest that the site may have been abandoned not by natural forces or the decay of time, but as a result of a sudden, catastrophic event. Could a pirate raid, a natural disaster, or even a shift in trade routes have caused the collapse of Kunduchi? We know from other historical records that the region has experienced its share of upheaval, raids, storms, and changing political landscapes. Could these events have spelled the end for Kunduchi, leaving it to fall into obscurity? If so, why did no one return to salvage the settlement? Why did it fade into the sands of history without a trace? Or could the abandonment of Kunduchi be part of a larger, still unknown shift in the dynamics of the Swahili coast? The rise of new powers, the evolution of trade networks, or the spread of new technologies could have rendered such settlements obsolete, leaving them to be forgotten by the very people who once called them home. As we stand among the ruins, the stillness of the place becomes almost overwhelming. The only sounds are the distant calls of birds and the rustling of the wind in the scrub. The stones, though weathered and worn, still seem to hold the echoes of a forgotten past. What happened to the people who built Kunduchi? Why did they leave? What knowledge did they possess that has since been lost to time? There are no answers here, only the silence of the ruins, the mystery of a civilization that once flourished, but whose story remains hidden. The Kunduchi ruins stand as a stark reminder that history is often written not in grand monuments or well-documented records, but in the quiet, forgotten corners of the world, waiting to be uncovered. And perhaps, like so many other ancient mysteries, the truth of Kunduchi may never be fully known. But as long as the ruins stand, we are left to wonder, what remains buried just out of reach in the sands of time? As we leave behind the echoes of forgotten coastal ruins, our journey now takes us into the heart of the Pacific, to a remote archipelago known for its pristine beauty and rich cultural history, Palau. It is a place of ancient secrets, where the oceans are a mirror to the past, and where the land itself holds the markers of a forgotten civilization. Here, in the heart of the island of Babel Daob, stands an enigmatic collection of megalithic monuments known as the Palau Badrul Chow stone monoliths, a site so ancient and mysterious that it has perplexed archaeologists for decades. Nestled in the dense, tropical forests of Palau, these stone monoliths rise abruptly from the ground, their weathered surfaces bearing the scars of centuries, if not millennia. Standing tall and silent, the Badrul Chow monoliths are a stark contrast to the lush greenery surrounding them. Some of the stones are simple, unadorned, while others feature intricate carvings and markings, symbols that hint at a deeper significance, yet refuse to reveal their true meaning. The tallest of these monoliths reaches a height of nearly 10 feet, casting long shadows across the surrounding landscape as the sun moves across the sky. They are not merely stones, they are monumental sentinels from a distant past, standing guard over secrets long lost to time. The site is believed to have been constructed by the ancient inhabitants of Palau, possibly around 900 BC, though some estimates suggest the monoliths could be even older. The purpose of these structures, however, remains a matter of intense speculation. The monoliths are thought to have been part of an ancient ceremonial or religious site, perhaps serving as markers or focal points for rituals. But given the lack of written records or clear explanations from the indigenous people, much about their function and meaning is shrouded in uncertainty. What is known, however, is that the Badrul-Chow monoliths are not isolated features on the island. In fact, they are part of a larger network of megalithic structures found throughout Palau and the neighboring islands, collectively forming what is known as the Stone Monolith Complex. These stones appear to be deliberately aligned with natural features of the landscape, possibly indicating that they were used for astronomical or navigational purposes. Some of the monoliths are arranged in rows, while others form more abstract patterns. Their careful placement raises a compelling question. Were these stones used as an early form of a calendar or celestial observatory? Were they marking significant events, such as the solstices, equinoxes, or other astronomical phenomena? The mystery deepens when considering that Palau's early inhabitants, who had no written language, may have possessed a sophisticated knowledge of the cosmos, one that has largely been lost to history. The fact that such structures were created in such a remote part of the Pacific is itself intriguing. The Badrul-Chow monoliths stand in an area of Palau that is not easily accessible, surrounded by dense jungle and rugged terrain. How, then, did these ancient people, with no advanced tools or technologies, manage to transport and erect these massive stones? The stones themselves are not native to the island, and some are believed to have been quarried from distant locations. The sheer effort and organization required to construct such a site suggest that the builders of Badrul-Chow had a level of social and technical sophistication that challenges our understanding of ancient Pacific cultures. Some researchers speculate that the builders of the monoliths were part of an early Austronesian seafaring culture that spread across the Pacific, and that the stones may have played a role in religious or political rituals. In particular, the carvings on the stones, ranging from simple geometric shapes to more abstract patterns, suggest a symbolic or ritualistic function. Were the stones markers for important spiritual events? Or did they serve as representations of ancestors or gods, with each carving holding a deep cultural meaning lost to time? The question of who exactly the monoliths were dedicated to remains unanswered, but there are clues hidden in the landscape itself. One of the most puzzling aspects of the Badrul-Chow monoliths is their alignment with natural features. Many of the stones are positioned in such a way that they seem to point towards specific locations, such as the distant mountains or the setting sun. Could this be evidence of an early astronomical calendar, a system of marking time based on the stars and the changing seasons? Some archaeologists suggest that the builders of the monoliths might have been early observers of celestial events, tracking the movements of the stars and planets to predict the changing of seasons or to guide them in their navigational voyages across the vast Pacific Ocean. If this theory is correct, it would mean that the Badrul-Chow monoliths were far more than ceremonial monuments. They may have been instrumental in guiding the daily lives of the ancient people of Palau. As with many ancient archaeological sites, there are alternative theories that venture into more speculative territory. Some have suggested that the monoliths could have had a connection to the island's mystical beliefs, perhaps serving as a portal between the physical world and the spiritual realm. Could the placement of the stones be an attempt to communicate with the gods or ancestors? Some believe that the very act of erecting these stones, which would have required a high degree of communal effort, was a form of sacred labor, a way to honor the divine forces that governed the natural world. Another theory, one that continues to fascinate both scholars and enthusiasts alike, is the possibility that the Badrul-Chow monoliths were part of an ancient, long-lost civilization that predates the known Austronesian settlers of the Pacific. Some proponents of this idea suggest that the builders of these monoliths were part of an advanced culture that possessed knowledge and skills lost to history. If true, This would indicate that the Pacific Islands were home to complex societies long before the well-documented history of the Austronesian migrations. Could these monoliths be the remnants of a civilization that once spanned the Pacific and whose knowledge was ultimately wiped out by natural disasters, warfare, or the rise of new peoples? Yet, no matter the theory, one undeniable truth remains. The Palau Badrul Chow stone monoliths are a mystery. They stand as silent monuments to a forgotten people and an even more mysterious time. With their carvings, their precise placement, and their unusual material composition, they invite us to wonder, what was their true purpose? Were they markers of time, symbols of power, or gateways to another world? The lack of definitive answers only serves to deepen the allure of this ancient site, leaving us with more questions than solutions. Could there be more to the Badrul Chow monoliths than we realize? What secrets are locked within their weathered stone surfaces, and what knowledge have we lost? Knowledge that might illuminate the lost history of the Pacific, its peoples, and their profound connection to the stars and the land. These questions remain unanswered, but the stones themselves continue to stand, silently guarding their secrets, waiting for us to listen.